Hey everyone! I had to stop myself from saying hello, hello, hello because I practiced it so many times to do the mic video that kind of stuck in my head. And you were hoping for an upload, like live isn't 10 times better. Like I'm here in person, like let's party. Actually, I'm here in person trying to knock this out before this monster of a storm comes and wipes out the whole town. But hey, whatever, you know, what's going on? Hey, Nigel, how's it going? I'm flustered too. I'm very flustered. Not having a good Monday. I'm just all over the place. Um, I do have a stream for you guys. I actually have a massive stream for you guys. It is oh my gosh, it's almost 3 hours long. Drama filled custody case. It is nuts. Let's see what happens. Check back with me tomorrow. We'll talk. Um, there's a hurricane. You know, no big deal. Whatever. Just a little storm. Yeah, just a little swirly thing. 10-foot storm surge. Whatever. Anyways, mom grabs the kids, takes off to Texas. Dad's in Michigan. And so many accusations, so many like crazy back and forth. But I uploaded it, and guess who? Yeah, so it's in review with YouTube. As soon as they finally decide to do something about it, I will post it. I'm trying to get a couple things together because I have no idea what's going to happen in the next couple days. If you don't hear from me for a while, I either floated away or I'm stuck in my house with no air conditioning, like ready to shoot someone. It happens. Oh gosh, I said a word. That word was on the list. Demonetized. It happens. FYI, before we even get started, I should put a banner up or something. I'm going to talk a lot. And I don't want to talk a lot, but people are taking their streams off of YouTube. In case you all haven't noticed, Judge Bryant is only on YouTube when she has to be. She talked about it the other morning. There are quite a few courts that are no longer, even from Michigan, who are no longer broadcasting all of their cases. So a lot of these cases that I'm following and trying to get updates on, there are no video updates, which is why I've been sitting on them for so long, trying to get something to make it interesting, but it's hard. So I just decided to put together a little, what is it, Google Slides, and just tell y'all where everything's at. And, you know, if you want to watch it, you can. If you don't have to. I threw in what videos I do have. I think I have 5 or 6 videos to go with these. So we can take a look at everything. I feel like I should be playing some, like, dramatic music right now before we get started. Intro. If you haven't checked out the Law Talk with Mike stream, check it out. It was a ton of work. It was kind of fun, pretty interesting. Mike has a pretty interesting life, and he has worked on some really interesting cases. And I think you will. I think you will enjoy it. So, all right, Penny, please don't. So today we are going to stop. I thought this was so cute. Look at all the little courthouses. Aren't they adorable? Yeah, I know. I spend way too much time on stupid stuff that doesn't matter, but it's so cute. So we're going to stop in St. Joseph County, Michigan, Wayne County, why is that one bolder than the rest? Washtenaw County, Lenawee County, Calhoun County. I should put it on a map. Then we're going to head to Fulton County, Georgia. I don't know how you say this one. Somebody has to tell me how to say this because the X is silent. I know that because I've heard them say it, and it's like Bayhar? I don't know. It's really weird. Texas, that's Judge Boyd, and Thurston County, Washington, and then head on over to Kansas, and then Smith County, Texas. So on our journey, and the little tabs at the top, cute. The first stop is the 3B District Court in St. Joseph County, and Judge Jeffrey Middleton. I love him. I just want to like listen to him tell stories. And look at his courthouse. Doesn't it fit his personality? Like so charming, and you just picture him sitting there in the front greeting everybody that walks in the door. Anyways, so I was with the Tenants from Hell stream, and all of these are linked in the description. So I didn't pull together clips of all of them because that would have taken me another week. No way. So this was a small claims case where Amber Fox, who everybody had an opinion on, and you want to pinch his cheeks or her cheeks? I want to clarify that. His cheeks. Well, usually you want to pinch the person with chubby cheeks, so I'm going to stay away from my cheeks. There's been no movement in the case. The property owners, Mr. and Mrs. Garth, have a judgment. The problem is going to be enforcing this judgment. They, yeah. What is that? What is that saying? Something about getting blood out of a stone? I don't know. Yeah, I keep up on the cases. I want to know what happens. I want to know what the outcome is. Like, I can't just walk away from a case when it ends. And I'm like, wait, what? Well, what happened? So I'm looking it up anyways. Why not, compile it so you guys can see it as well? But anyways, one thing I wanted to add, I know a lot of you guys like to search cases and see what's going on. 3B is not in the normal Michigan case search. Like when you go to Michigan, almost all Michigan cases are on one website where you search and find which court it is. The 3B cases, the district court cases, have their own website. So you have to get a little creative and find that. Next, we head over to the 36D, and that is, let's see. So I threw in some of the judges that are involved in the cases that we're looking at. Judge Bryant was on the John Doe case, and look at the courthouse. It's crazy. I think that's the real courthouse. Maybe it's a historic courthouse. I don't know. But I know they're redoing one of the courthouses. Judge Thomas talks about it all the time. She's not happy about it. Doesn't know when they're going to get in the new courthouse and if they're going to have Zoom. And Judge Michael Wagner is from the Dogfight Crazy Attorney case. And Judge Thomas got the no contact guy from Judge Dad. Miss Judge Dad. So first we pop in to see John Doe. If you guys remember John Doe, he was a little out of it at his first couple hearings, refused to go to a couple hearings, pitched a fit, everything else. Finally started acting reasonable, got bond, and the whole argument was, well, we can't let him go because we don't know who he is, and he might just take off and not come back. Well, they found out who he is, let him go, and he took off and didn't come back, which, okay. So they issued a bench warrant for him on 6/23. He's got charges for failure to appear and unlawfully driving away of an auto because he was in the side of the passenger seat of the stolen vehicle when they were pulled over, and that charge was added later after the fact. And this bench warrant is going to sit out there until he screws up, does something, and gets picked up on something else. Next, we have the dog fight attorney. This one was kind of a hot mess. Where are my tissues? Sorry, guys. My nose is all drippy. My nose doesn't ever get drippy. It's really weird. Usually I'm all dry and crusty. Sorry, TMI. Happens. All right, Attorney Brian Hill. So we had like a red-blue split down the middle. Like it almost got political. It was so like divided. And there were those who thought the attorney was in the right, and there were those who thought the judge was in the right. And the fact of the matter is, they were both wrong. It's like hardcore wrong. And I know, I was looking at them. There's actually a website called Courthouses or Old Courthouses or something that some of these were popping up on that I had to realize those weren't the right ones. So in the case, Miss McAdoo was charged with a nuisance charge She was charged with dogs at large, because remember, she was on one side of the street. The plaintiff, the injured party, the victim, was on the other side of the street, and she crossed over to his side of the street. Her pit bull attacked his little beagle, which isn't really little, that's solid medium. So she also got a ticket for failure to vaccinate, which is odd. But those were the tickets that this was being heard on. So all of that hearing was on those tickets, which I would have just paid them and gone on with my life, but whatever. So at the end of our stream, they went into a breakout room and they worked out a plea deal where the first 2 charges were dismissed, and she basically just had the failure to vaccinate the dog charge. They had discussed during the stream some kind of restitution for the vet bills for the victim, but you can't get the actual document, so you got to try and figure it out from the docket. So I'm not positive if that went through or not, but her stuff was suspended. I think the remainder, sorry, there's a next button that's popping up in front of what I'm trying to read. The remainder of the sentence was delayed. It says under statute 771.1. So she basically just got fines and costs and go vaccinate your dog. But we needed to talk about the yes/no question. I really researched this because I wanted to make sure we had it right, because we need to know. We need to know the truth. We need to know the correct answer. So going forward, because we'll see this again, right? This is what I found. Oops, sorry, too far. So Black's Law Dictionary defines a leading question as a question that suggests the answer to the person being interrogated, especially a question that may be answered by a mere yes or no. So yes or no questions are definitely leading questions. So we got that out of the way. So the main thing we have to determine is leading questions on cross-examination. And yes, they're absolutely permitted on cross-examination, but not always. That's where it gets catchy. And it's kind of in a gray area, because a lot of what I was reading was saying it was the judge's decision, but then other things were saying, no, the trial court was overturning it. So it says the trial court has broad discretion to permit or deny the use of leading questions, and an appellate court can reverse the trial court's decision on this point only when there was a clear abuse of discretion or an error resulted in substantial prejudice. This is coming, I'm sorry, I should have said that. This is coming from a Michigan bar publication that was specifically entitled, leading questions. I can't remember exactly what it's titled now. Hold on, I have it right here. Leading questions on direct and cross-examination. Gosh, dang it, stop doing that. So this also varies state to state. So some states require, if you're asking a yes or no question, that you allow the witness, they must answer yes or no first, but then you have to allow them to explain afterwards. But others say that as long as you're getting the truth from that answer, you're right. So basically what the underlying rule is that yes or no questions can't be used to skirt the truth. Like if you're not letting them explain the answer when it's not a clear yes or no, like, is the hurricane predicted to hit me? Well, I'm in the cone of uncertainty, but there's no, because we don't know exactly where it's going to hit, and that line is technically where it's going to hit, but the cone is, it's not a yes or no question. I can't give you a yes or no answer to that, and if I did, it would be misleading, and that wasn't the best example, but I'm too tired to give you a good example. So basically, that's the point. The biggest problem I had, which you guys made me question, because you guys were all about this attorney. What's his attitude? Really, like, shocked me. because the whole respect factor, like, dude, that's a judge. That's the dude making the decision. Like, be nice. If you don't like it, appeal it. And I sent this to Mike. I didn't give him my opinion. I didn't tell him anything. I didn't show him my streams. I just sent him a raw, the compilation of the outbreaks, and he ran it, and he basically said the same thing, which is what I was curious about, is what he thought about. And the same thing. It's the respect factor. Like, you respect the judge even when you feel like the judge is wrong, and then you take it up with an appellate court. Like, you don't ever try and argue with the judge. It's like arguing with your parents, but like 10 notches above that. You don't do it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, I know. We need to check on Debbie. Debbie lives up around that area. I haven't heard from her in a while. So anyways, here's 2 links to 2 really interesting articles on the topic if you're, law nerdy and like that kind of stuff. So while I was digging into this and everything else, I happened to put in Miss McAdoo's name just to see what's going on in her world. Not exactly. It was a little bit different than that. But I was trying to find a case. I happened to come up with this, which I thought was incredibly interesting. This was a post on Facebook, and it was all about pit bulls being misunderstood. And like the terriers and things like that. But then she commented under it, and this was on a like a rescues website. They posted this picture, and Miss McAdow commented, "There are good and bad dogs of every breed, and any dog can bite given the right circumstances. My son was nearly killed by a bully breed dog, a stray, and I made it my mission to endure that he understands that was a bad dog, but every dog that looks like that dog is not. He required emergency surgery, blood transfusion, skin grafts, IV antibiotics, and 700 stitches to repair the damage." Holy crap. She put a picture of him. I'm not going to show that. But she said, "We continue to foster. They are BFFs. One bad dog doesn't spoil the entire breed." And then she went on to say the dog that attacked her son was euthanized. It was a stray that came into her yard. I just, the irony kind of got me. This had happened some time ago, and I'm like, if you experienced that, you of all people should understand that situation. It should have just settled it and walked away. In my opinion, the taking the other party whose smaller dog was severely, or not severely, well, pretty badly injured from what was testified to court and everything else and putting him through that was, I don't know, that really bothered me. So I thought it was a little ironic. Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? I don't know. Just my thought. Yes, that's absolutely horrible. Any dog attack is horrible. Any dog attack is just, you hear about it so many times, and it literally is the dog. It really is the dog. But some dogs have more aggressive personalities or traits than others. Like my daughter has a Maine Coon cat. That cat wants to live outside. It has that natural instinct. It wants to be outside. It wants to hunt. It needs to hunt. That's its natural instinct. My cats, I mean, the one wants to go outside. The other one just wants to lay there all day. She doesn't want to hunt. Like, she doesn't even chase around the lizards that the other one catches on the porch and brings in the house. So, there's some have inherent traits. Some, it's about how you treat them. And generally, people who get really mean, big, scary dogs are really big, mean, scary people. Not generally. A lot of times. And those people do not take care of those dogs, and those dogs end up in shelters. And if you want to see that, I can show you my local shelter. It is all of those breeds that are on that list of what makes your home uninsurable. It's really, really sad. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just scary. And yes, kids aren't taught how to approach dogs. You have to, like, I know someone who got bit because they walked up and took the bone out of the dog's mouth. You know, granted, dogs shouldn't have food aggression, but it happens. You know, you don't walk up and take a bone out of a dog's mouth unless you are the dominant person over that dog. And even then, Penny snapped at me the other day when I did it. She's been snapping at the cat because she thinks the cat's trying to get her bone. I'm working on it. She's not too smart, though. Anyways, so that was the story. All right, so down to no contact guy. If you guys remember no contact guy, no contact means no contact. Judge Dad had about a meltdown. He drove by the school, called her from the parking lot in the lawyer's car, but he didn't really call, and the lawyer got on the stand. Mom lied on the stand. It was a whole shit show. And then it got found over to circuit court, which sent him up to Judge Thomas, which is actually how I found Judge Thomas and fell in love with her. So he has a domestic violence third offense, and his final conference prior to a trial is set for 9/18. So they will probably make a deal prior to that date if they're going to make a deal. And we will have a resolution to this one. She looks so cute. And Judge Dad looks so messed up in that little cartoonization. Okay. Apparently, I do a lot of Washtenaw County because, boy, that was the majority of this stream. Hey, cool. When I drink my Mountain Dew, it looks like water. So you guys think I'm healthy. Okay. So Washtenaw County has a really ugly courthouse. But look at J. Cedric Simpson looking all smooth. And Judge Slay. Whew. And Freshour. Like, and then Judge Conlon has a good personality, you know? He's kind of cute. And yeah, anyways, let's go with the women. They have quite a beautiful set of women judges there. So we start with Barry Garza. If you remember, Barry Garza is the one who went after his ex-girlfriend, even though there was a protective order against him and he was banned from having firearms, and fired at her and her friend that was walking across the parking lot to go have smoke. We saw the magistrate, I can't remember her name, and it's in the stream. She was filling in for Judge Fink, and she denied his bond. And so then there is a preliminary hearing. Oh, we get a video. You don't have to listen to me. So let's see if we can make this work.
Court calls the case, People versus Barry Garza.
Jessica,
We're ready in this matter. Under Lauren Brown, Deputy Chief Public Defender, being Linden on behalf of Mr. Garza. Mr. Garza, please state your name for the record.
Barry Garza. It's hard for me to hear.
Your Honor, today is the date and time set for the probable cause conference. Is the court in receipt of the orders for competency and criminal responsibility?
Yes, I do have them. I will sign them. Court will order a forensic evaluation. And I'll set a competency hearing in this matter for
Would be October 5th.
October
5th.
Competency hearing October 5th, 2023, 9 a.m. Bond continued.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's why I don't mute myself. So, not super exciting, but that's all there is. So they're doing the competency evaluation, and it always makes me laugh. It's like, you know, I guess competency is different than things. Then obviously they're deranged, or they wouldn't have done what they did. Hey, Tammy, glad you could make it. I like Tammy because her hair's the same color as mine. There's something wrong with them, like, or they wouldn't have done what they did. So his current charges are homicide, open murder, assault with intent to murder, weapons, felony firearm. And Jessica Blanche handled his first one. The next hearing is on the 5th. I can't imagine they'll get a competency evaluation that quick, but you know, he did draw the long straw and get the amazingly smooth Mr. Lorne Brown to represent him. So this one's going to be interesting. Next, we have, I don't know if you guys remember, but the Alzheimer's DUI case, which we've had a couple updates to, and I've been following, and they have been in and out of court quite a few times. Well, not in and out, they keep having little discussions and extending it. So it actually started last year when Mr. Smith got a DUI. It was, I think, like November or something. And then they brought it up in court and said, hey, you know, he has Alzheimer's. And then there was this big discussion, and Judge Simpson actually determined that he was a danger to society, revoked his bond, and he was ordered to report to the Washtenaw County Jail right there on the stream. And that is the first stream that this thumbnail is from. If you haven't seen it, it's really interesting. Then they did a competency evaluation and, of course, found he wasn't competent. And Ms. Kirby mentioned Adult Protective Services, and there's some behind-the-scenes stuff going on, because the main issue is his wife is working, trying to support the household, and he is home alone, and he kind of needs supervision because what he was doing was getting the keys and going and getting in the car. And she had got all the alcohol out of the house, things like that, and the neighbor was giving him beer. You know, how do you control what the neighbor does? So there are a couple updates to this one too. So let's see what that is.
Court calls the case, People versus Darrell Smith.
Marie Rosinsky on behalf of the people.
Zachary Ward on behalf of Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, can you please unmute and state your name?
Darrell Smith, you need to unmute.
Judge, if we can, oh, there he is.
Okay, thank you.
All right, what's your name?
Darrell Alfonso Smith.
Thank you. All right, what are we doing?
Your Honor, I do know better than to ask this, but could we approach on this matter?
Your Honor, I'm requesting a bench conference with Mr. Ward, myself, and APA Kirby, if she's available.
Okay.
Thank you.
If Mr. Ganacho is requesting it, I'll do it. All right. Everybody's back? Okay. Record should reflect we've had a bench conference on the Darrell Smith matter. What the court's going to do is I'm going to adjourn the probable cause to September 21st, 2023. 9 a.m. or your Zoom invite indicates. See what we can come up with. At this time, his bond will continue. Thank you.
So like I said, nothing too exciting, but they are working on something behind the scenes. It has been going on for almost a year, but they're trying to figure out how to get him and his wife the help that they need from Adult Protective Services or whatever services are available through whatever entity there is to make sure that he's protected and society is protected, because he can't be out there drunk driving. So they're working on something. And Champagne's back. So if you guys haven't watched Champagne, it's a fun little journey. Started with an argument over $15, which almost got the case. The case would have almost been dismissed if she wouldn't have started that argument, but then it got extended, which then resulted in the assistance agency sending the payment to the wrong Arbor Apartments, which was the old Arbor. And I don't know if you guys remember, but right about the time I started streaming, so right at the start of 2023, Judge Simpson was involved in this huge deal with the Arbor Apartments because they didn't have the right occupancy permits, I believe it was. And so there was a big to-do, but they were switching ownership over. And it was those prior owners that the money got sent to. Well, they're refusing to give it back. So it was a whole ordeal. So Champagne is now, in Judge Simpson's good graces. Last time she showed up with her Minnie, who was absolutely adorable. And Judge Simpson was pretty.
I know, exactly. That's what
Wow,
you're gonna
fine.
tell people. All right, thank you.
That's what I'm doing. I'm
Arbor One versus Champagne Wilson.
Thank you.
Cheryl
all.
Wolkoff on behalf of the plaintiff.
Hello, Ms.
Here.
Wilson.
Good morning. Oh, it's good afternoon. I'm used to seeing.
Good
you.
afternoon. Yeah, that's okay.
So, Your Honor, on this one, this is the one where the payment went to the wrong entity. And I
Yes.
have been advised that the defendant just went in, I think she was so fed up, she went and paid the landlord. She has a zero balance right now, but I do want the record to reflect because she was approved. A payment did go to a third party who's
Whoa.
kind of denying it right now. I don't want to necessarily get in the midst of it, but I don't think it's really fair to Ms. Wilson what happened. And I don't know if you want to show cause this Beal Properties, but the money was.
Whoa. Okay.
So
I
this
hear ya.
$500 went to Beal Properties, but Beal Properties is saying they didn't receive it. So Ms. Wilson ended up just paying it.
Is
Your
that right,
Honor.
Ms. Wilson? Oh, go ahead, Amy.
I just want to stop for a minute. For anyone who remembers this, the initial stream where she had pink hair, do you remember how much tension there was? And even like 2 months later, Attorney Luckoff was still like hot and not happy. Now everybody's besties. It's so funny.
Me too.
Yes, I just want to let you know that I've had several correspondents along. Champagne Wilson and I have both been kind of tag teaming Stuart Beal. Because I was here at the original sale and I know that account number, Arbor 118 LLC, is directly affiliated with Beal Management. And she's, Champagne has even went down there and we've been sending letters from the state of Michigan demanding the payment back. It is his vendor number, his provider number. We didn't even have a provider number. And he's basically stated in emails that we should operate from a position that he doesn't have the money and that all the accounts are closed. So Champagne and I, seeing Cheryl and the state worker, have been on this, and he is just not complying. He's saying that the account isn't there, the money isn't there. So we're kind of in between a rock and a hard place because, like Ms. Luckoff said, Ms. Wilson had to really come up with that money from somewhere else when she was already allocated that money from the state of Michigan.
And Ms. Wilson, how much
Yes.
did you pay? How much did you pay that you shouldn't have had to? 500?
$520.
And you did that because, as Ms. Luckoff indicates, you just got sick and tired of it.
I just want to go ahead and be able to be out of court and had this have been paid in July 31st when the payment was sent, we wouldn't be here, so I don't want it to keep dragging out.
Wow, she just insulted me. So what she just said is, I don't want to see you, Judge. I'm sick and tired of this.
Under the circumstances, man, maybe.
All right. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna do something that's gonna make you have to come see me again because I like Ms. Luckoff's idea. I know we've been going around and around about this, but fair is fair. And so if somebody got that 520, you shouldn't have had to come out of your pocket to try to make it right. It just shouldn't be that way. So if I'm going to issue a show cause to Stuart Beal and Beal Properties And if you could, if Schluckoff or Amy too could send to Miss Wilding an address that we can. I know I said your name.
23 North Washington Street, Ypsilanti, Michigan, 48197, baby.
Dang. What? Did you get that?
Because I've been down there in person, knocking on his door.
Okay, she's got it. Just guess nobody has to send anything. And I'm going to show cause why they shouldn't be ordered to pay you $520. Make them show up, and they were telling you whatever. Now they got to tell me, and that can be a bit of a problem for folks. So I'm going to set that for
September 12th at 9 a.m.
September 12th, 2023, 9 a.m. in person.
Did you want
And that's on this
me
case,
to
so
appear?
I am not dismissing it. So yeah, you guys got to be here too, because you guys were involved in it.
Okay.
Okay? Is that okay, Miss Wilson, even though you don't want to come see the judge?
I'm compliant, whatever I have to do.
Champagne and I will ride together.
Okay.
We've
All
seen a
right.
lot of each other lately.
No, for real.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't want to see you
Thank
the 22nd. That's my birthday.
The 22nd
Yes.
of
My mother's
September?
birthday.
I'll be 31.
Wow, to be so young.
Yeah. My birthday is a few days after. I'm 31 too. Okay, never mind.
Talking about I'm
Anyway.
31 too.
All right, you take care.
Okay, what
Hi,
time
Miss
on the 12th?
Wilson.
I'm sorry. What time is
Pardon?
that?
The 12th at 9 a.m.
Okay,
At
thank
9
you.
a.m. in person.
Have a
All
good
right.
weekend, you guys.
You
Yeah.
too.
Okay, so they went from fighting to besties, and things can change at the drop of a hat. Like, you're planning on doing this talkie stream and going through all these cases, and you're in Washtenaw County, and all of a sudden you're gonna jump over to Butler County, Kansas, and pick up a live stream. What? I don't ever do that. Of the frat girl, no, they weren't frat girls. They were just a group of college roommates who had a busted water pipe, and this is their hearing. I have no idea what's going on because I don't ever stream live, but we're gonna try and watch it. So let's see if I can make this work and work with audio.
The District Court of Butler County, Kansas. This is our limited actions docket today.
Is it good?
Looks like one of the matters has been resolved, so that leaves us with 2 bench trials. Mr. Holmes, are you ready on Colbrain versus Williams?
Yes, Your Honor, we're ready to go forward, and my client's here in the Zoom as well.
All right, and is Douglas Williams here?
Yes, I am.
All right, Mr. Williams, if you wouldn't mind, just as respect for court, take your ball cap off. I know it
could have told me that
easy to
before I
forget
set
we
it
are
all
in
up.
court
Geez.
when we're in the comfort of home and other places, but this is
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
let's go on the record then in 2020.
All right, you tell me when they start on that, and we will jump to it. And in the meantime, we're just going to keep going with this. I know, I love it. She's adorable. We're going to keep going with this, and maybe we'll even get to her. Okay, the couple, the 34 years together couple. Nothing's happened since the last stream that I put up, but everybody heard the word hoarder and just jumped in the comments without really listening to the context behind the comment. He kept calling her a hoarder, but then the rest of the testimony was he's not even letting her bring anything at all into the home, and to the extent she can only bring 2 days worth of food at a time into the house, and if she brings more than that, he throws it away. I mean, there is issues on both sides of this. And the reason that this case was such a big deal for me is it's kind of like a trigger for me because she was recently diagnosed with MS, and I know how rough that is because, personally, I have the same thing. And when your support system abandons you when you need them the most, it is it is really traumatic to try and learn how to live when all of a sudden you have all of these limitations. Well, they also went into a discussion about the quote unquote hoarding was during the pandemic when she was collecting things for a nonprofit or something along those lines. So I think there's a lot more to the story, and I'm really interested to hear the backstory and what's going on, because I think the 926 hearing will be pretty interesting. So where's Saul Goodman? Are you still on this? You're gonna let me know when they switch over, because I'm not paying attention at the moment. Do you guys remember Mr. Ross, the bank robber? So he had the two cases. He had the home invasion case, and then he had the bank robbery case. And he has the probable cause conference set for 9/7 because, of course, he has, the amazing Mr. Lauren Brown, who he tried to fire until he realized, hey, he's way smarter than me, because this guy has been a we tend to classify everybody who wants to go pro se as soft sit nowadays, and they start spouting off all these things, and basically it's like they're jailhouse lawyers who have gotten a hold of some of this soft sit ideology, and they're using that to their advantage. He's not really a sovereign citizen. He doesn't believe in any of that stuff. He's just trying to represent himself and cause chaos in the court and all of his past hearings, which he started to do that, and then he realized, oh, this is kind of serious, this could put me away for a while, so maybe I need to let the attorney do what he needs to do. So they've had a couple check-ins on what the status is, and they're still working on the in-person lineup, and in all of the status hearings, they are keeping Mr. Ross off camera so as not to taint the pool of witnesses, which I thought was interesting. I've not seen that before. But then again, Zoom's relatively new. I don't know if you remember this guy, the how to screw up a plea deal. He was chilling on the couch, and, Mr. Brown was trying to do what he could to get him there, and this guy was just being kind of a pain. He's charged with interfering with electronic communications, domestic violence, reckless driving, and interfering with electronic communications attempted. All right, hold on. Let me check on. This case. We still. I think we're still. I think Judge Webster's still on her first hearing, so we will go ahead and watch. Oh gosh, no, I don't know which one's which. I think it's this one. Is it this one? It might be this one.
Interference with an electronic communication device. That is correct, John. The 1 year.
I put that note in there. I think Lauren Brown told him to what Judge Simpson's sweet spot is, because his wife comes in with the baby, and Judge Simpson goes gaga for babies every time. So
upon his plea to those charges, counts 1 and 3 would be dismissed. That's the court's full understanding. Well, yeah, that's the court's full understanding of the agreement.
That is our understanding as well, Your Honor.
That's correct.
Sir, can you please raise your right hand without tipping over? I don't know why I said that. All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
State your name for the record, please.
Esteban Vega.
All right. Sir, it is this court's understanding that you're going to plead guilty to 2 charges. First charge is the stated count 2 of domestic violence. That's a misdemeanor punishable by up to 93 days in jail, $500 fine plus court cost. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
The second charge is that of attempted interference with an electronic communication device. That is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year incarceration and a $500 fine plus court cost. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You also understand, sir, that while I'm taking your plea, I would not be your sentencing judge, and you would be sentenced before Judge Freshour in the 14A4 District Court. All right. Now, understanding all of that, do you still wish to plead guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
To the charge of domestic violence, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
To the charge of attempted interference with an electronic communication device, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Now, you understand that by pleading guilty, you'll not have a trial of any kind. Do because of that, you're giving up certain rights. You're giving up your right to call witnesses to speak for you at trial or to have this court compel their attendance.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're also
You talking about the North Carolina campus? University of North Carolina warns armed, dangerous person on campus and urges people to stay inside. Active shooting situation near UNC campus. Reports of 1 wounded. What is wrong with people in school, college campuses, schools, everything? Like, I don't understand this world.
giving up your right to see,
Thanks for
hear,
the
and
heads up,
question all
Tom.
witnesses against you at trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand you're also giving up your right to be a witness for yourself or to remain silent,
Sorry,
not have
I
that
should have
silence
cut all
used
this
against
out.
you.
Yes,
We've
Your
heard it like a
You
thousand
understand
times.
also you're giving up your right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand you're giving up your right to appeal of right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you on probation or parole?
No, Your Honor.
Has anybody promised you anything other than what's been stated here today on the record to get you to plead to this charge?
No, Your Honor.
Anybody threaten you or coerce you?
No, Your Honor.
You're doing this voluntarily
Yes, Your Honor.
and of your own free will,
Yes, Your Honor.
and because you believe that you're guilty of these offenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
On the date of July 2nd, 2023, at the location of 1611 South Fletcher Road, Lima Township, Washtenaw County, State of Michigan, what did you do on that date involving a Melissa Danielle, is it Pangle?
Yes, Your Honor.
What'd you do?
She slipped and fell and I put my hands on her trying to pick her up. And I did not have permission to do that. So,
All right, so you put your hands on her and tried to pick her up?
yes, Your Honor.
All right,
I did put,
and, pardon?
I did put my hands on her in that manner when I did not have her,
And that wasn't accidental on your part?
No, Your Honor.
What is her relationship to you?
She is my spouse, my wife.
All right. And was there an electronic communication device, usually a phone?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened with that?
I threw her phone away, or away from her.
Okay. Was she trying to make a call at the time or she
was on the phone call at that moment.
Okay, and you took the phone call and interfered with her ability to communicate on that. All right. Counsel, have I complied with the court rule and would it be proper to accept this defendant's pleas to these charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
The defense is satisfied. Your Honor, for the record, Lauren Brown, Deputy Chief Public Defender, appearing with and on behalf of Mr. Vega. I don't believe I had put that on the record earlier.
We all knew. All right, but thank you. Court will accept the defendant's plea of guilty to counts 2 and 4. Counts 1 and 3 are dismissed. Pre-sentence investigation and report is ordered at 14A4 probation. Sentencing in this matter will be
August 31st at 9 a.m.
August 31st, 2023, 9 a.m. before Judge Freshour. Bond with its conditions will continue.
And Your Honor, as to bond, if you recall, when we were at PCC and the plea was, we were trying to take the plea last time, the victim was also present. She's also present in the hallway currently, and wants to change the no contact to no non-consensual contact. And would like to reiterate that to the court.
All right, I have no objection to that.
Do you want to bring her in?
Yeah, I'll hear from her.
She just has a baby, so she's staying.
What?
Has a baby. So
I like
she's staying
babies.
at home.
It's okay.
I know.
That's why I like Kilowog. You're welcome.
I don't think it was.
So you'll have to step back over there.
You're good. You're fine.
Sorry, we had to bring her. We didn't have to sit her
Why are you sorry?
because I know babies don't usually come to court.
Mr. Kilowog, yes, they do.
She says hi.
Oh my goodness. How old is she?
Almost 7 months.
Look at him. He's like
All these
melted.
people.
He just said, okay, what do you want?
Ma'am, you had something you wanted to address the court on.
Yeah, I'd like the no contact order dropped. I'd like him to be able to come home. I know that he's done a lot of therapy and things. I've checked his online portal. We have 3 kids. I have no intention of getting divorced. It's very exhausting. The kids haven't seen him in 6 weeks and they cry daily. And yeah, I'm not afraid of him in any way. It was a one-time thing that got a little bit more heated than it should have, and
Exactly.
yeah, she agrees. She's teething, sorry. She's so loud. Say hi.
All right, what I will do, there was part of the provision also a no-go too.
Huh?
Likely was.
Yes, Your Honor, there was another.
Then what I'm going to do is I will delete the no-go to provision.
What does that mean? Okay, sorry, I don't know what everything means. I'm not very
It's
smart.
okay.
So.
Most of the people in this room aren't either, don't worry. So that's to the Fletcher Road address.
Yes.
So the no-go to Fletcher Road will be deleted. I will also delete the no contact provision. I will, however, add a no non-consensual contact. So, sir, so that you understand that no non-consensual contact, if for whatever reason she decides that she does not want you in her presence, you are required to leave. You understand that?
Might take me a minute, but I'll definitely.
Fair enough.
He did not
All
hit
right.
her. He
Okay, thank
picked
you.
her up roughly from picked her up off the ground aggressively. And the biggest thing was he broke her phone. You can't just write stuff like that. You gotta finish the sentence, put more context. I don't know. Like after who are you talking to? The first what? Should have stopped what? Gotta make it make sense. Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate that. Hard to find me? Hit that little bell thingy. Once you hit that, blows up your phone. Boy, I hit that for a couple channels. Oh, nonstop. Like okay, I don't need to know anymore. I'm good. So, the one everybody's been waiting for. The adorable Judge Freshour, who has not been streaming. Trust me, I check every 1,800 seconds all day, every day on her channel to make sure that she didn't just pop up a stream for some reason. And she didn't. She hasn't. She's probably not going to. Yeah. It's okay, Ravens has issues. Hot and cold. If you haven't watched this one, I would advise not to because it really hurts your brain. This is the guy that was talking about postcards and JavaScripts and his information being sold. He was trying to be a SovSit all over the place. So he's had a bench warrant out for him for a while for refusing to appear for sentencing after he pled guilty to 2 counts of stalking. So we saw him on June 5th, and he promised to appear in person for the June 22nd hearing after fighting back and forth with the judge. He didn't have video on, it was just audio, and it went back and forth forever. And half the time he didn't even make sense. The other half he was just arguing. And then he didn't appear, and another warrant was issued. And then magically on the 14th, he appeared in front of Judge Fink. I'm assuming it wasn't by choice. And so his sentencing is scheduled for 8/28. His bond has been denied. They did try and get him bond, whoever his attorney is, and no. So he doesn't have the option to run away again or avoid court. So he will definitely be at this sentencing, and this case, which I believe is from 2019, will finally be closed. So I would like to hope that the case from the 28th will be streamed, but I'm going to say chances are it will not because Judge Freshour is not streaming anything anymore, it seems like. But I will be able to get you an update from the docket. And I also checked in on Mr. Streetman because this one just, I don't know. I just like keeping up with it. So Melvin jumped bond years ago and headed over to Missouri from Michigan. He stayed there for a while, and his child support obligation went up to, I think it was $54,000. So when he came back, Judge Simpson didn't want to let him leave the state, and he put in some order where he had to have his payments auto-deducted out of his account, his child support payments, a certain amount. But then Judge O'Brien heard the case, and she granted him bond, let him leave the state, and then lowered the amount. So he was supposed to have a hearing, and they agreed to let him have a Zoom hearing in front of Judge Slay on the 25th, but it was rescheduled on his attorney's request because he was in the process of leaving the state and going back to Missouri. That seemed really odd to me, but it was rescheduled for 10/16, and I'm just keeping this on my watch list because I really want to see if he shows back up for court. I mean, he took off. He even has an absconding or forfeiting bond charge, which, you got to be gone for a long time to get that. To see if he actually follows through this time and clears this out like he says he's going to. Okay. So this is the one where Miss Williamson's attorney argued, she's only charged with accessory and it's just a 5-year. And then after a while, it was determined that she was accessory after the fact to open murder that nobody, happened to mention ahead of time. And once I posted this stream, everybody told me I missed the big story, which was Angela Weems, the, pro se, Sovsit wannabe, I don't even know what you want to call him, jailhouse lawyer. We have a video on this, but we are going to take a pause and we are going to jump over to Kansas and try once again to see if we can watch the college girls live, because, why not? Let's see if I can switch these. There we go.
Why don't we get everybody identified for the record here? Ms. Locke, if you'll go first announcing your client.
Yes, sorry, Susie Locke on behalf of the plaintiff Still Tort Properties, who appeared today by their managing member, Chad Young. He is in my office, but not currently on the screen. Currently on the screen is who we intend to call as our first witness, and that's designated by the Young witness box.
If you guys remember this case, there was a broken pipe when they went away for Christmas vacation, and it's like $6,000 in damages. I thought there was 4 of them. Anyways, and it
And then do we have Kennedy Kelly present?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you do not have counsel, or do you?
No, Your Honor.
she was supposed to get counsel
We have
before now.
Sydney Lentz present.
Yes, Your Honor.
And do
And
you
re-
have counsel today?
I do not, Your Honor.
Remember, Kennedy's mom was there,
Kayla Woodward, are you
kept
present?
passing her notes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have counsel today?
No.
Me too. Yes. She turned the air conditioner off and the pipe froze in the basement and busted and caused like $6,000 worth of damages. But they were disputing the charges.
There had been a counter petition filed, but I understand that that was dismissed. So, and with that, is there anything else pending besides the petition that we addressed last time for a principal amount of $5,750? Ms. Locke, that appears to be the only remaining issue, is whether these 3 defendants owe that to your client. Is that right?
That's my understanding of the current posture of the case, Your Honor.
All right. So we don't have any agreements. Everyone still pleads not guilty, not responsible. Is that right? Miss Kelly,
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Lentz,
Yes, Your Honor.
and Miss Woodward.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I remember basically what this is about, but Ms. Locke, if you want to refresh with a brief summary of why we're here.
Thank you, Your Honor. In December of 2022, the three defendants were co-tenants in a property owned by Diltor Properties. In December, when the three tenants went home for Christmas break, they were all students at Butler Community College. They went home for Christmas break, and if the court will remember, during pretrial conference, Ms. Lentz admitted that she shut the heating and air conditioning unit off when she left. That resulted in a freeze of the plumbing fixtures and all the pipes. It caused significant damage that had to be repaired. When the repairs were made, the landlord, Diltor Properties, requested payment for the same from all of the defendants as part of the lease agreement. When they refused, we were forced to take legal action to try to seek that money be paid back to the landlord.
And is there one of you from the defense that want to tell me, do you have any reason to say you're not responsible other than your Miss Woodward? Are you wanting to represent the group or yourself at least? Just a
Yeah.
real brief statement of why you're not responsible or why you think you're not.
Yes, Your Honor. We take no responsibility for the damages incurred over Christmas break. We had told Diltor Properties that we were all leaving for Christmas break. And as a result, they took no action to mitigate the processes of anything to prepare for us leaving. We had read through the lease agreement and it stated that we have to keep all plumbing fixtures intact and in good condition, as well as removing the outside hose, which we did that. We went through all the processes that we were told to keep the property in good condition. We made sure to remove all electrical appliances, unplug everything. I was the one that quite frequently checks on our thermostat while we were living there. I was sure that it was set at 70 degrees on auto when I had left for Christmas break, which was on December 14th. And my other roommates had left previously before me and also after. So I did my due diligence to make sure that everything was in good condition before I left. I had no knowledge that there was any damages incurred until we were notified by the plumbing that all of a sudden we had cracked pipes. Checking on the weather, we were told that it was negative 32 degrees, which is abnormal for Kansas. That's an act of God, Your Honor, to have temperatures go that low. Therefore, we take no responsibility for the damages incurred because it was so cold. There is nothing that we did to lead to those damages.
Now, Miss Lentz.
I'm trying to remember. She was the one that was in the car last time, right? And she's from Canada. She was like down on the bottom right, and she was well spoken. Wasn't there a fourth one, or am I thinking of the mom?
Ms. Kelly, does she speak for you, or do you want to make separate statements of what you think your position should be today? This isn't your testimony. This is just the overview of what your position is and what you think the evidence should show or will show.
Yes, Your Honor. Most of my statements agree or align with Michaela's. I was the first to leave. I followed the cold weather protocol along with Michaela. We kind of walked through it together. And whenever we were told about the plumbing and given the bill and we asked for photo evidence, we were only given 4 photos. And then whenever we asked for more photos or more documents of the damage that had occurred,
we were referred to the plumbing company, which we were given the same 4 photos that only showed one.
Okay, I think you're breaking it down a little more than, you can do that when you testify if you want, but I think I've got the gist of it. Ms. Lynch, you're in with them, that you think you followed the protocol and that you're not responsible for the damage?
Yes,
Is that your position? Okay. All right, Ms. Locke, you can call your first witness.
Thank you,
No,
Your Honor.
just
We
hurricanes.
would call Sydney
Mad at
Scribner to
me.
the stand.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Oh, I do. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, remember they were calling
Yeah,
your stepdad as a
Still
witness.
show that you're muted. I don't know what you need to
Yeah,
do.
I'm close to Miss Locke's computer, so
Oh, I
I'll try to speak loud enough.
Cindy Scribner, go ahead.
Please state your name for the record.
Cindy Scribner.
And what's your occupation?
I own a couple of businesses, Scribner Enterprises and All Service Plumbing.
How long have you owned All Service Plumbing?
I believe we started it around October of 2022.
Are you the only employee of All Service Plumbing?
Employee or owner?
Are you an employee?
I'm not.
Are you just the owner?
Yes, I'm a co-owner.
Do you have any employees?
Yes.
And who is that employee?
Nathan Stevenson, and we've recently hired a new one.
And what sort of work does Mr. Stevenson provide for All Service Plumbing?
Only 3.
Does full service plumbing, much any range of plumbing that our customers have.
And why did you hire him when you started this company?
His experience, his knowledge, his way with customers. Those are all things that drew us to ask him to be part of us starting this business.
And as the owner of All Service Plumbing, are you familiar with the property in El Dorado at 602 North Allegheny?
Yes.
How are you familiar with that property?
I know that we did some work there.
Can you tell us about the work that you performed at 602 North Allegheny?
Sure. So we did what I would call a full repipe underneath there due to frozen pipes. I think we may have also installed a hot water heater. Sorry.
Around December of 2022, did you become aware of an issue at 602 North Allegheny?
Yes.
How did you become aware of that issue?
I was speaking with Chad Young, who owns the property. He had come by my house and said that he believed that when his tenants left, they had turned off the furnace. So he and I decided to go over and see if that was truly the case.
And did you
There's
in
a
fact
link in the
go over to the
description.
property?
Yes.
What happened when you got there?
We went inside and found that the furnace was indeed off.
Can you describe what it was like at the property?
Cold. Very cold. Colder inside than it was outside.
Was there anything other than just
Think
feeling
about
cold
you.
that gave you some indication that there might be an issue?
Yeah, we could see our breath. And there's also an icicle hanging from the kitchen faucet.
What did you and Mr. Young determine at that point about the property?
We determined at that point that it was likely that there were going to be frozen pipes. And so we went and just turned off the water at the main. And so when it unfroze, the water would be shut off to the house.
What occurred next?
Mr. Young left town, and when it got above freezing, Nathan and I went over to assess the situation.
And when you and Nathan got to the house, was that still in December?
I believe so.
And what did you do when you got to 602 North Allegheny?
When we got there, Nathan was by the crawl space. I can't remember if he actually went under the house or if he was just by the crawl space, and I went to the main water meter and I turned it on so that he could see there was indeed leaking under the house.
Okay. And what do you remember about whether or not there was leaking under the house?
He said that there were several pipes broken underneath. So.
What did you all do next as far as your work at 602 North Allegheny?
At that point, we moved forward with getting it in the condition that it needed to be for people to move back into it.
And when you say that there was water leaking under the house, was this like one crack, multiple cracks?
I got the impression from Nathan that it was multiple cracks, but once he identified the leaks, he just told me to shut it off, knowing that we were gonna have to go underneath there and do work. Yeah.
Did you know if any work needed to be completed inside the home?
I don't remember us looking at that time inside the house. So
As a result of your work on the house, did work needed to be completed inside the home?
yes, we ended up having to install a new water heater.
In your professional opinion, was that a direct result of this freezing incident?
Yes.
And in your professional opinion, was all of the work done under the house as a result of the freezing incident?
Yes.
Do you believe that any of this would have occurred had the heat been on in the home?
No.
Did Mr. Young tell you that he turned the heat off?
No.
Did Mr. Young tell you to replace the water heater?
He told us to do the work needed to get it back in a functional condition.
And did you have any indication that the water heater wasn't working prior to you coming to the house?
No.
So when you and Mr. Young first went to look at the house because he believed the pipes were frozen, did he say anything about, hey, while you're in there, fix the water heater?
No.
From your professional opinion, was a plumber necessary to do the work completed?
Yes.
Now you ultimately provided a bill for these services, is that right?
Yes.
And if you saw that bill today, would you recognize it?
Yes.
Can you turn what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 11 in the notebook in front of you?
Okay.
What is that document?
That is an invoice from our company.
And how do you recognize it?
It has our logo and our address on it.
And in your opinion, is it the true and correct copy of the invoice that was provided for the services completed at 602 North Allegheny?
Yes.
Your Honor, we would move to admit Exhibit 11 and have it shared on the screen.
Objection? Hearing no objection, Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Sorry, Your Honor, Exhibit 11.
Oh, Exhibit 11. Change that number to 11, thank you.
And does Your Honor have the exhibits in front of her? Does it need to be shared?
If you can share it, that would be fine, but I think I do have those. Let me double check.
Is this the same Exhibit 11 that you were just referring to in the exhibit notebook?
Yes.
And what was the total fee for the services that you provided?
$5,750.
And if we scroll down, what services were provided?
Says here that we installed some new 3/4 inch PEX water lines and some 1/2 inch water lines to a toilet. We eliminated some cracked CPVC, which is a different kind of pipe lines that had cracked due to the freezing temperature. We also installed a 40-gallon electric water heater. And it looks like we did some administrative stuff, build a crawl space from a hole that we made bigger, some things like that.
And in your opinion, was all of this work necessary to complete the repair you completed?
Yes.
And do you believe that your pricing was fair?
Yes.
Looking back, would you change any of your charges?
Based on Nathan's response to the complexity of the work, I feel like we could have potentially charged more.
But from your perspective, this was an accurate bill for the services rendered.
Yes.
And the services rendered were a direct result of the pipes freezing.
Yes.
And from your opinion, being there that day in December, what caused the pipes to freeze?
The furnace being turned off.
Since you completed the work at 602 North Allegheny, was your bill paid?
Yes.
And who ultimately paid that bill?
Field Properties.
Now, Ms. Scribner, do you also own rental homes?
I do.
About how many houses do you own or manage?
Right now, I currently own between 25 and 30 on any given day. I've managed up to 75 at any time.
What are some of the responsibilities of a landlord in providing water, heat, electric, all of those things to a home?
It's imperative that they make sure that those services are provided.
Does a home have to be habitable?
Yes.
And is one of those habitability requirements running water?
Yes.
Hot water?
Yes.
Had you not made the repairs to this home, would it have had running water when these students returned from Christmas break?
No.
I got it.
Since completing the work at 602 North Allegheny, have you done any other work for any of these defendants here today?
The defendants, no.
Have you done any work for any of their parents?
Yes.
And was that pre or post the work at 602 North Allegheny?
That's post the work.
And did any of their parents complain about the services provided?
No.
Did any of their parents complain about the fees charged?
No.
Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Kelly, any questions of this witness?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Woodard, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Is there any photo evidence to prove that the furnace was turned off at the property at the time?
Any photo evidence? I don't remember taking a picture.
Is there any evidence at all to prove that the furnace was turned off at the property?
Yeah, I believe in opening statement, somebody said that Miss Lentz admitted to turning off the thermostat before leaving.
Miss Lentz, did you admit to?
You're not asking Ms. Lentz questions.
Not how this
You're
works.
asking this witness. You can do whatever you want later for witnesses, but
How can, other than Miss Lentz admitting to the heat being turned off, is there any other way to determine that the furnace was turned off?
Outside of myself and Mr. Young's word, I would assume no.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Look, there's
Ms.
mom.
Lentz, any questions of this witness?
No, Your Honor.
All right,
Your Honor, brief redirect.
go ahead.
I glanced
Is it
through
your
it.
standard practice to take photos at job sites?
No, on a regular basis, no. There are times that we have to bring insurance claims, things like that.
And this work was not completed for an insurance company?
No.
So did you have any reason to take photos of the damages?
No.
Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Very well. Any other witnesses, Ms. Long, or other evidence?
Yes, Your Honor. We will call Chad Young to the stand.
All right, please raise your right hand, Mr. Young.
Oh, 1 second, Your Honor.
That's not Mr. Young there in the black shirt?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of hard to prove because you could flip it off,
You
take the
solemnly swear
picture.
the testimony
It's
about
not
to give
quite
shall
as-
be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Please
Solid
proceed,
as some
Ms.
other
Locke.
things.
Thank you, Your Honor. State your name for the record.
Chad Young.
Hold on.
And what's your occupation, Mr. Young?
I own a rental company and I'm also a transportation safety coordinator for a ethanol company,
When you say you own a rental company, what's the name of that company?
Guilford Properties.
Is that the plaintiff in this action here today?
Yes, it is.
And do you own the rental property at 602 North Allegheny?
Yes.
How many other properties do you own in your rental company?
I own one set of properties with 6 residences on them, and then I own 3 other besides that.
And can you describe yourself as a landlord, what type of landlord you are?
You know, I'm a pretty good landlord. Every time I'm asked to do something, we get out as quick as we can do it.
I'm a great landlord.
Especially situations like this that
Is that every
are
slumlord ever?
not managed as quick as time allows us to get them managed. If we have to hire a contractor, then we're at the mercy of whoever we hire to get stuff done.
When you rent a property to someone, do you have someone do an application?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a walkthrough of the property before you agree to rent it to them?
Yes, we do.
And then ultimately, do your tenants sign a lease agreement?
Yes.
At the property at 602 North Allegheny, did you go through these steps?
Yes.
And in our exhibit notebook, exhibit 6, if you don't mind flipping to that. Can you tell us what this document is?
Yes, this is the lease agreement.
Is this a standard lease agreement that you typically use?
Yes, it is.
Is this a lease agreement that you would have used with all of the tenants in this case?
Yes, it is.
What are some of the standard terms of your lease agreement?
Such as what you abide by.
Sure.
Well, that they have to keep the property in good condition, just like it was is when they rented it. There's always a deposit. If you have animals, there's a pet deposit. No tobacco or no smoking in the residence. Keeping the yard tidy and just keeping the place up like it should be.
The exhibit 6 that you have in front of you, how do you recognize exhibit 6?
This is one of our standard lease agreements with our name at the top of it.
And who is the particular tenant that this lease was entered into with?
This first one is for Kennedy Kelly.
And is this a true and correct copy of the lease agreement that you entered into with Miss Kelly?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, we would move to admit exhibit 7, or sorry, exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6 is a lease agreement with defendant Kelly, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, it is admitted.
And if you look at exhibit 7, what is exhibit 7?
It's another lease agreement with Michaela Woodward on it.
And is that a true and correct copy of the lease agreement that was executed by you and Miss Woodward for the rental of 602 North Allegheny?
Yes, this, my wife actually did the agreement, but yes, it's Diltor Properties.
And does she have the authority to sign on behalf of Diltor Properties?
Yes, she does.
What's your wife's name?
Crystal.
And Your Honor, we would move to admit exhibit 7, which is the same lease agreement, but with Michaela Woodward.
Me too.
Any objection? Hearing none, it is admitted.
And finally,
screwed
Mr.
up.
Young, can you look at exhibit 8?
Yes,
And what is exhibit 8?
it's also a lease agreement, but this one with Sydney Lentz on it.
And how do you recognize it?
It is ours it's our name up at the top of the lease agreement. And this one was taken care of by my daughter, who also does our leases along with my wife, and her name's Tori.
And is this a true and correct copy of the lease agreement entered into with Ms. Lentz?
Yes,
Your Honor, the plaintiffs move to admit exhibit 8.
Exhibit 8, any objection? Hearing no objection, exhibit 8 is admitted.
And Mr. Young, do exhibit 6, 7, and 8 all have, generally speaking, the same terms?
yes, they do.
Are the only differences the lines, blanks that are filled in on those documents?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
They owe
Indicating
'em.
the specific names of the tenant,
For the damage.
but the terms of the lease are the same.
They're the same.
If the exhibit 6 could be shared,
I mean, after a while, he's going to be paying more in attorney's fees than if he just.
Or are you sharing that out of your office, or do you need the clerk to do that?
Your Honor, I can share it, or I believe Balin has our exhibits.
I have it.
Okay,
Give me just a second.
thank you.
And they've had multiple hearings. They've had several motions back and forth. His bill's adding up already.
Mr. Young, on exhibit 6, the first page, can you please read for the court the highlighted portion in the first paragraph?
No, because you have to scroll down so we can see it.
The first highlighted portion says the tenant will pay for any damages to the property caused by the tenant or his or her guests.
And can you please read for the court the highlighted portion on page P14, which is the next page?
Yes, it says the plumbing fixture shall be kept in good condition and any damages caused by fixtures is the responsibility of the tenant. Hoses attached to outside faucets will be removed prior to freezing temperatures. If tenants fail to do so, causing any damage, the tenant will be responsible for the expense of the repairs to return the property to an undamaged state.
And can you read paragraph 13?
Paragraph 13 says each tenant will be responsible for the full rent and lease agreement, either jointly or individually in the case of default.
Can you please read the bold area at the bottom of P14?
Says the violation of any of the conditions of this agreement shall be sufficient cause for eviction from said premises with an immediate notice to vacate by the landlord. The tenant agrees to pay all costs of such actions, including reasonable attorney fees that may be fixed by the court.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
So the one girl was actually onto something when she was talking about fixtures, because I just pulled it up and said, what is a plumbing fixture? And a plumbing fixture is actually just defined, oh God, we're getting into words being hard, as an exchangeable fixture with examples given as bathtubs, bidets, channel drains, drinking fountains, showers, taps, urinals, things like that. So those are the actual fixtures. And that's what this whole thing is talking about, is they maintain the plumbing fixtures. And so he's trying to apply, you know, an orange to the apple bushel. And I mean, he might get away with it, but because they don't have an attorney to fight it.
Is this the same, are these same highlighted portions, paragraph 13 and that bold area, are those consistent in all lease agreements signed by the plaintiffs or the defendants here today?
Yes, they are.
And did you perform a walkthrough of this property?
Prior to them moving in,
Yes.
it would have either been myself or my wife or daughter who would have walked in.
Okay. And did you complete a walkthrough document when you did that walkthrough with them?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you turn to exhibit 9? What is exhibit 9?
It is the move in and out checklist.
And is this the move in and out
They weren't
checklist
moving
that
out.
you did with these 3 defendants?
Yes, it is.
They were returning.
Is it a true and correct
Yes, it is.
copy of what you did? Okay. Your Honor, we would move to admit exhibit 9.
Any objection to exhibit 9? Hearing no objection, exhibit 9 is admitted.
Now on page 28 of exhibit 9, is there some indication about the dishwasher on this property?
Yes.
Do you want this screen share?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Lynn, can you put that on screen share?
I've got all the dates. I just don't know the lost date specifically yet.
This was exhibit 9.
Yes, Your Honor, specifically date stamp 28.
I meant the temps. I have the temps.
Can you see it or?
Words matter.
Not yet.
Oh,
Phelan.
sorry.
That's okay.
Glad you made it. Oh, that's.
And if you scroll to page 28, Mr. Young, what's the indication about the dishwasher in this house?
It says ordering new.
Did you order new during the tenancy of these defendants?
No.
Why not?
When I buy a house, there's a lot of stuff I got to go through to get to what I feel is something I would move into. And one of the things I wanted to do was put a brand new roof on the house. And that's what I did, along with clean the property up when I got it.
Have you since put a dishwasher in the house?
No, I haven't.
Why is that?
There were several reasons. Once the tenants moved out and I paid for this work to be done, and you know, that sets you back. I was set back and I had to wait to try to recoup funds in order to proceed with going through stuff.
Thank you. And in your opinion, as a landlord who owns multiple properties, was the dishwasher necessary as part of what you provided these tenants?
No,
Was a hot water heater necessary?
absolutely,
Was running water necessary?
absolutely.
I would beg
And
to
you just
differ on
heard
the dishwasher.
testimony from Ms. Scribner. Do you remember that?
Yes,
And were you present for all of that testimony?
yes,
And do you remember her saying that you and her went to the property in December of 2022?
yes,
Is her depiction of what you saw at the property in December of 2022 accurate?
yes, it is.
How did you come to know that you needed to go check on the property in December?
One of the tenants notified either my wife or my daughter and let us know, and then they told me I needed to go look at it.
And when you say let you all know, what did they let you know?
That the water wasn't working.
And how did the tenant come to know that the water wasn't working?
From what I understand, she went there to either check on things or get something picked up, and the water wasn't working, and she was there.
Okay. And what tenant was that?
I believe it was Sydney.
And did Miss Lenz indicate to you at any time that she had shut the thermostat off?
Yes.
And when you found out that she had shut the thermostat off, what did you do?
I explained to her immediately that's probably what happens if the pipes had froze.
And then you went forward with contacting Miss Scribner?
Yes.
Why did you choose to utilize that company, All Service Plumbing, to complete the repairs?
It wasn't so much that I chose to utilize just that company. We had called, I think, 2 other companies on top of it, and I wanted to get the first company that could make it out there because they did not have running water. I wanted to make sure it would get fixed.
And ultimately, did you use All Service?
Yes,
Were they able to fix the plumbing issue before your tenants returned from Christmas break?
I'm not exactly sure what the dates were from when they returned and when it exactly got fixed, but they got it repaired. They were the fastest ones that could get it repaired.
Did any of your tenants ever tell you that they were displaced by the not having water?
No, the only times we ever talked about it, I told the tenants, I was like, if you guys got a place to shower or go, that may be good. It just may not be fixed for a minute because they're kind of at the mercy of who's doing it.
And when it was getting fixed, were any of the tenants currently living in the property?
No, they were all gone.
Home for Christmas break?
From what I understand, yes.
Did you send a group message to all of the tenants telling them of the issue?
I believe we did.
Can you turn in your exhibit notebook to exhibit 13?
Yes,
What is exhibit 13?
it's a text message.
And can you describe the nature of the text message?
Yes, it's explaining to the tenants what was going on with the plumbing.
Okay, and what date was the message sent?
December 28th.
And who
December
did you send the
28th.
message to?
It was all three people.
All 3 tenants?
Yes,
And is exhibit 13 a true and correct copy of the message that was sent on December 28th?
yes, it was.
Your Honor, we would move to admit exhibit 13, and if it could be shared.
Any objection to admission? Again, hearing none, exhibit 13 is admitted and may be published.
But are they gonna get that? That's why they had an
Do
attorney.
you have exhibit 13 by chance?
Flimsy.
I do. Give me just a moment. Susie, what page does that start on?
It is on P62.
From what to what?
Thank you. Mr. Young, in this text message, are you telling all of the tenants that you turned because they turned the heat off, that the pipes had frozen?
Yes,
Did you tell them in this message that it wouldn't be fixed until sometime later in the week?
correct.
Did you tell them you wouldn't know for sure how much it would cost until the pipes de-thawed and the amount of damage could be assessed?
Yes,
Did any of the tenants object?
no,
Did any of them respond and say, we didn't shut the heat off?
no,
Did any of them respond and say, we're not going to be responsible for that?
no,
Now, ultimately, did you repair the house?
yes,
And you previously looked at Exhibit 11, which was the invoice for the services provided. And that invoice was for $5,750. Is that right?
that's correct.
Did you request the tenants pay that invoice?
Yes, we had talked about it, yes.
And what was their response?
Initially, let's get it fixed and find out how much it's gonna cost and we'll get it taken care of. And then when the price came out of how much it was, it started to kind of turn the other direction.
And when you say turn the other direction, what do you mean?
Then nobody was responsible for it. Nobody wanted to pay it.
Ultimately, did they tell you their parents would pay?
I believe we had a parent even contact us to say he'd want to know how much it was too.
Okay. Who ended up?
Okay, before we get too far into another subject, I don't know if you guys saw it because she scrolled really fast, but in that text message, it said that the crack occurred at the main water shutoff, main water line, something like that, in the main water line. So my question is to you people who live in the north, where's that at on your house? Because I live in Florida. We live in concrete houses. Our houses aren't made of sticks. And that's on the outside of my house. Like, if I want to shut the water off to my house, I gotta go walk outside and shut it off. So if that's where the crack was in the pipe, like, my heater in my house ain't doing nothing to help that. And they're also talking about pipes in the basement and underneath and underground and all of that. The heat in the house is not affecting that. Like, that's where I'm getting a little confused here, is why are they attributing this to the thermostat when where it happened seems to be not in the house? It's not like it was the pipe right underneath the floor going to the tub that froze up. I don't know. So you guys tell me, where is the main water shut off and all of that at in your northern little stick houses? Gosh, I keep trying to play on the wrong screen.
Paying for the invoice.
There we go.
I paid for it.
Why did you pay for it in full?
I'm a firm believer, you have work rendered to your business, you got to take care of it. It's a small town and people have to pay their bills. It ain't gonna happen.
Okay. And as a landlord, were you required to provide the home with water?
Yes,
Were the repairs that were made necessary to provide a habitable home?
yes, they were.
If the tenants had left the heat on, do you believe the repairs would have been necessary?
No,
If the tenants had left the heat on, would you have had to replace the hot water heater?
no.
Would you maybe have had to replace it sometime?
Not any time that I know of that was in the foreseeable future, because it was a fairly new one that was in.
So this is the thing. They're saying that if she wouldn't have turned the thermostat off, the pipes wouldn't have froze. But the pipes that froze and cracked were in the basement and wherever. Last time I checked, like, you didn't heat the basement, right? So if that's where it's cracked, it was cracked there because it was cold down there, and the thermostat from the house isn't going to change that. It's not going to heat that, right? Am I missing something? Tell me if I'm missing something here. Gosh, wrong screen. This throws me off. I can't do these live things.
And in your opinion, was what occurred
I love
at the
HUD.
house
Give
at
us the
602
answers.
North Allegheny a direct result of the tenant's actions?
Yes, it was.
And who told you
Right.
that they had turned
Okay.
the thermostat
That's what I
off?
Sydney told myself,
Is that defendant Lentz?
yes,
And as part of the lease agreement that we previously reviewed, are the tenants all jointly and severally liable for the damages caused to the property?
yes, they are.
Did you try to seek payment for this invoice prior to the tenants leaving the property?
Yes,
And have you incurred legal fees in trying to enforce the lease agreement, which would have required payment for such damages?
yes, I have.
Is your basement finished or like unfinished?
Are you asking the court
like
to
waste.
order a judgment against all three tenants for the full amount of the invoice, the $5,750,
Yes,
That's
plus
surprising.
post-judgment interest on that amount?
yes,
And
Oh,
the
that's different.
costs and attorney's fees associated with prosecuting this claim?
yes.
Nothing further from this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Lentz, any questions of Mr. Young?
Not all. I know one in New York,
I do not have any
the
questions.
basement wasn't heated. It's always freezing
Ms.
down there.
Kennedy, or Ms. Kelly, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Woodward, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Mr.
Let's go,
Young,
Michaela.
did you acquire a permit for the extensive alleged damage underneath the house?
Mr. Young, you're muted.
Can you hear me now, Judge?
Yes.
Okay, I don't get permits. The contractor would have gotten the permit. If there was one needed, I don't know. I don't.
All right. I have one more question. In our lease, it states that plumbing fixtures are to be kept in good condition. To your knowledge, what would the definition of a fixture be?
Anything that's gonna have the water running through it, such as a faucet, toilet, any of that kind of thing.
So you would agree that it would be the faucets, anything that we would have control of, such as faucets, hose, things like that?
The whole interior, yeah, that it's gonna be anything where that water goes through.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
so the damage that was done
on
to the
Monday.
house was the infrastructure of the pipes that was underneath the house. And in our lease, it only states that we are responsible for fixtures. Is that correct?
It's stated in there, and I might have to reread it. I don't have it memorized. It's stated in there that any damages caused to the property by the tenant or anybody that they have, his or her guest. So
Just have to prove they caused it.
would fall underneath that, as well as the responsibility of the tenant to keep the stuff up the way it's supposed to.
Yes,
Nothing
I've
further, Your
heard
Honor.
that too.
Any redirect, Ms. Locke?
Just briefly, Your Honor. Mr. Young, looking at Exhibit 6, which we previously looked at, can you read us the highlighted portion in the first
Again?
paragraph of Exhibit 6? Exhibit 6,
yeah.
page 13.
It says the tenant will pay for any damages to the property caused by the tenant or his or her guests.
And in your opinion, was the damage that was incurred a result of
Objection,
the
Your Honor.
tenant's
It's not qualified to answer
negligence
this
or
question.
willful shutting off of the heat?
Yes.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Any other questions just limited to what was just asked? Okay. Hearing none, then do you have another witness or any further evidence, Ms. Locke?
No, Your Honor.
All right, it sounds like the plaintiff rests. Ms. Lentz, have you any evidence you want to present?
Okay, I said in between these, I would show you guys the weather. Stop sharing this screen. Share this screen. Okay, so this is December 2022. So we're going to presume that it was one of these 2 weeks. And if you look, during the day on the 22nd, it got down to -4, but at night, so I believe -4 was the high during the day, and at night it got down to +30. Is that? I didn't really think about that. So what is this? Is this the highs or the minimum and maximum? Let's just click on it and see what it says. Okay, there we go. So at night it was 16 degrees. In the morning it was -2. During the day it was -2. So this was by far the coldest day. All of these days from the 22nd to the 26th were below freezing. However, none of them were -32 degrees, as was testified to. So, yeah, I'm going to say, negative temperatures can cause pipes to freeze. So they did say -30. They absolutely said -30, and we're nowhere near -30. Like, we got to -4 and a -6. And I even checked January too, just, to be sure. And at the like, maybe sometimes you don't come back right away, and it's even warmer. I mean, we're up in the 40s, so it definitely wasn't that. So back to 2022, December. Did you guys see what you wanted to see on here? So we're in the low teens and single digits right around Christmas, and then it starts to get up into the 30s. So it would be like right at Christmas is when it would happen. And we are going to stop sharing that. We are going to go back to this. No. This.
I would like to say, Your Honor, that
Okay,
I
if you're
only.
gonna testify, please raise your right hand. Your right hand, please. The other one.
Sorry, so sorry.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
How would they know that? How would they know they're
Please tell us
uninsulated?
your full name.
Sydney Lentz.
Okay, and where are you from, Miss Lentz?
I'm from Wichita, Kansas.
Do you live in Wichita?
I do not previously. At the moment right now, I do not.
Okay, Miss Locke, do you have her address if it's needed?
As long as it's the same address on the answer that she provided, I do believe we have her address.
Okay, because I don't want her to say it live here, but okay. So is your address the same as what you have on your answer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and what would you like to testify to today?
I would just like to make a statement saying that, to my knowledge, that I only turn off the AC.
Anything else you want to say?
No, not at the moment.
Are those separate?
Ms. Locke, any cross-examination?
Just briefly, Your Honor, Ms. Lentz, the air conditioning system and the heating system are controlled by the same thermostat, correct?
I believe so.
And when you turned off the air conditioning, you would have turned off on the thermostat, is that correct?
I honestly do not know. This is my first time owning or being in a house by myself, and I didn't have any idea on how the thermostat works or what to do or anything like that. So my knowledge was only that I turned off the AC.
And when you turned off the AC, did the screen on the thermostat go blank?
Not to my knowledge, no.
In December of 2022, there would have been no reason to have the air conditioning on, correct?
Correct, because it was freezing outside.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Lentz, do you have any other evidence?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Kelly, do you have any evidence you want to present, including your own testimony? You don't have to, but you can if you want.
I would like to ask,
Oh, you wanted to ask a question of Ms.
oh,
Lentz?
no, ma'am, I was gonna ask to you.
Oh, okay. What's your question?
When am I able to call a witness now, or will that come later?
You can,
The one
this is what I'm asking you to do if you want, is now is your time.
Yes,
So-
ma'am, I would like to call a witness.
All right, and who do you want to call?
Ryan Sherpy.
All right, is that the gentleman there on the front of the screen?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Sherpy, please raise your right hand.
Your Honor, we would object to this witness. It's not clear that he ever went to the property or what the relevance of his testimony will be.
He looked at the
Let's
5
see.
pictures.
Talked about him at the last hearing. Was he approved as a witness at the last hearing? I don't recall.
He was tentatively approved without an understanding of what he would speak to. We objected to him being called as any sort of expert witness. And I'm not clear on what relevance his testimony would be other than as an expert in the field of plumbing or home repair.
Do you have any purpose for calling him as, other than as an expert witness, Ms. Kelly?
He was, yes, ma'am, he was approved as an expert witness during our last meeting.
Well, I don't recall that. What were the qualifications you offered?
His job title, or his
Oh,
business and his job,
thank you so much.
and his work with areas such as this industry experience.
Did he
And
have-
Your Honor,
Go ahead, Ms.
Your Honor, if you'll remember back to our pretrial conference, Ms. Kelly did not respond to any discovery,
middle.
did not provide a witness list, did not provide an expert report, did not provide any documentation demonstrating what this individual's qualifications are or what he would testify here to today.
And as their stepdad. I mean,
Oh,
You
so I
need me to
recall, is
pull
he
up
the
my
father of
screen?
one of the defendants?
He is my stepfather, Your Honor.
I'll go ahead and allow a little bit of leeway on this.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and ask your questions, Ms. Kelly.
In your,
Well, let's establish his name and what his qualifications are to see if he has any standing to testify further.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Ryan
No, no,
Sherpy.
she needs to ask you questions. You're
Okay.
what is your
What is your name, first of all?
What is your name?
My name is Ryan Sherpy.
And
Ryan Sherpy.
and how are you an expert witness in this case?
I've been in general contracting, construction, commercial plumbing superintendent for over 20 years.
And are you familiar with situations like this, such as
I am,
plumbing and freezing pipes?
especially in North Texas in the last, was it 2 years ago? We had a big freeze down here with lots of pipes bursting. I've done plumbing in North Dakota, Colorado, throughout the islands and the Virgin Islands.
And
Your Honor, I'm going to renew my objection that this witness won't be able to provide any relevant testimony. He just said that he's a plumbing contractor in Texas, the Virgin Islands, Colorado. To our knowledge, he's never been to the property. He's never been in the crawl space. he could have nothing relevant to provide the court today other than his opinion about what happens in Texas when it freezes.
Sir, did you ever examine this property that we're talking about?
Not that property, ma'am, only through the photos that I examined.
Photos only? Where'd
Yes,
you get
ma'am.
your photos?
They sent us 4 photos that we requested photos to prove that work was done. We received 4 photos, only one of a broken pipe, and the rest was just a stack of pipes, and then some funny plumbing that happened on the back porch, it looked like. But we weren't gonna pay anything until we saw the actual damage.
All right, well, hang on.
Yes, ma'am.
So you never went to the site. You've never worked with Kansas plumbing in winter, but
Ma'am, North Dakota is a little worse than Kansas. Colorado, the same way. There's a lot of relevance there. Freezing is freezing, no matter what state it's in. And I know Kansas Plumbing Code abides by the International Plumbing Code.
it sounds like he probably has the qualifications, but the problem is if he hasn't been to the actual site and examined the actual damage, I don't believe there's any.
Ma'am, I work with property management companies, over 500 homes that we take care of throughout the area.
But
I operate in what they require normally from us.
okay, but you agree, you didn't go out and look at this property or this damage?
No, ma'am. Only through requested pictures, which were not provided.
Which is
And
common.
yet you're prepared to give what you would call an expert opinion as to what caused the damage to these pipes that you never saw.
Just according to the one picture I saw of the frozen pipe, I would testify that it was, if you have a frozen pipe system, for one, the hot water tank should have a backflow preventer via Kansas law. And if that didn't happen, then there should be no reason, as long as the electricity was in place, that the hot water tank would have frozen over and needed to be replaced.
But you didn't go out to the site, so you don't have any firsthand knowledge of whether what you just said was required was in place or not.
No, ma'am, but
All right. I'm going to.
Because I called the city inspector and he said no.
All right, now you're getting into hearsay and.
That's not, okay, yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to disallow this line of questioning. I'm going to find that it's not relevant unless you have some other purpose for calling him.
The right information, wrong way to get it in.
But I don't see how the testimony of this gentleman could be relevant when he never saw the
I
condition.
have property management experience, ma'am.
And that's going to help how?
I know as a contractor for property management companies that I would have to provide tons of photos to prove that these issues existed in order for payment to be made. I would never be able to get away with 4 photos of just random photos of one broke pipe and say that you needed to pay me almost $6,000 for this work. That would never happen.
Right. Ms. Kelly, go ahead with your line of questioning, Ms. Kelly. Let's go ahead. Again, I question the relevance, but I'll take that into consideration as we go along. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Going back to the permit, to your knowledge, and in El Dorado, it is required.
Now, I am not going to allow out-of-court statements by people that aren't here for cross-examination. So I'm not going to let your hearsay in. We're not going to talk about what this person or that person might say. It's going to be strictly on his firsthand knowledge. So let's keep those rules in mind.
Yes, Your Honor. Can I have some clarification?
Anything that somebody else said for him to make his opinion, I'm not going to let in unless that person is going to testify. Because I think I know where this is going based on what he said a while ago. He wants to talk about what a city manager or city administrator, somebody said. We're not going down that inadmissible hearsay.
Yes, Your Honor. I was just trying to say that,
Don't tell, just ask your questions. Don't testify. That's, if you want to testify, you're welcome to, but not during his testimony.
She's scared.
yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Sorry, let me pull up my questions.
Yeah.
I would like to ask for his opinion on the situation as it pertains to the plumbing.
Well,
Your Honor,
go ahead.
Your
Ms.
Honor,
Blunt.
I apologize, but before we start, it appears there's someone in the background of Mr. Sherpy's space that
She's
may
been
be
there the whole
messaging
time.
the defendant or sharing questions with the defendant. We would object to any of
Mom's
that.
doing it again.
Are you talking about the blonde-haired lady that is the mother of one of these young ladies?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we had that problem at the last hearing, ma'am. If you're not an attorney representing them, you can't represent them. You cannot tell them what to say. You cannot tell them what to ask. I heard you telling Mr. Sherpy what to say a while ago. You know, don't be sending them text messages or anything like that. Now that's not going to happen.
I'll excuse myself.
That's a
Why
good
even
idea.
sit in the camera view?
Now, don't just go leave the room and circumvent what I said.
Yes, ma'am, she will not. You hear that, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. Yes,
Is
ma'am.
Kelly your wife, Mr. Sherpy?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now. I'm gonna find you in contempt if I find she's sending you, and I may get her for for practicing law without a license. She can't be your lawyer today.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
I was just going to ask about his opinion on the situation pertaining to the plumbing.
Well, you need to have a foundation that he has something to base that on. If he
Have
didn't
you-
see it, if he didn't see it, how can he give me an opinion that counts?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you ever review the photos?
I apologize.
It's all right, just take your time.
Did you just let Michaela do it?
Not something you do every day.
I appreciate it. Trying to-
It's like when you're standing in front of the class for the presentation that you've practiced 1,000 times and just like go blank.
I apologize. I cannot think of any further questions at this time. Retaining to his credibility, I believe.
Credentials?
Credentials that has not already previously been stated by him. And
Well, I don't remember if we got those on the record or not, but okay, but we know that he's done a lot of plumbing.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Um,
And we know he didn't actually go into the apartment and check it out. Okay. But
so, yes, ma'am. Continue. I apologize.
oh, you go ahead. So whatever else you want to try to cover with him.
In your previous experience
that
working
screen.
with plumbing or getting work
I have my
done,
pedal dog.
how many pictures are required to show that the work was done, completed, and the damage was significant?
Currently, the people I do work for require at least 20 photos.
Thank you. And if those photos were not taken or given, how would the person paying respond in your experience?
They would not pay me without proof of photos or receipts of material, everything else. They would refuse to pay that due to lack of proof. I mean, if there's no proof, then they're not going to pay me for the work. I could say that I fixed something all day long and never fix it.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you, Ryan.
Yes.
Ms. Locke, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. You don't work for Diltor Properties.
Not for Diltor, no ma'am.
You don't work for All Service Plumbing.
No ma'am.
You don't work in Kansas.
Not currently.
You don't have,
Joint liability.
you're not currently
Joint and
managing
several
any
liability.
properties in Kansas.
No ma'am.
And you didn't inspect the work completed on this house.
Not on that house, no ma'am.
And when Miss Kelly moved back into the house after Christmas break, the water ran.
I'm not aware of either way. I'm not sure, ma'am. I assume it did.
And that she never reported to you that the water was cold?
Not to me personally.
And prior to her leaving the house in December, did she tell you the water wasn't working?
Not that I know of. No, ma'am.
And she didn't tell you that the water was cold?
No, ma'am.
And when there is a freezing event, pipes may crack and leak, correct?
They may crack and leak when not properly insulated.
And no further questions for this witness.
Miss.
She almost stepped in it.
Miss Kelly, do you have any other witnesses that you want to call?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you don't wish to testify yourself either?
Um,
I'm not suggesting either way. I just want to make sure that I understand what your choice is.
yes, ma'am. I do not wish to testify.
And you don't have any other evidence you want to present?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. And Miss Woodward, how about you? Do you have any evidence you want to present?
No, Your Honor, just my testimony.
Okay, please raise your right hands. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, and say your name for the record and where you're from.
Michaela Woodward. I am from Saskatchewan, Canada.
Okay, and you're one of the defendants in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what would you like to testify to?
I just want to reiterate the weather that was caused in Kansas at this time. There was a article done by the Wichita Winter Squall that this was record-breaking weather in El Dorado at this time. This was unheard of. It has never gotten that cold before. Pipes were freezing in multiple residences, regardless of the temperature that was set by the thermostat in the house. There were power outages. Like, who is to say that the power didn't go out in the property? We have nothing to prove that the power did go out, didn't go out. There is no proof to show that a thermostat was turned off. There is no evidence to show that a thermostat was touched at all. So I just want to reiterate that cold weather was the main cause of this damage, and we do not claim responsibility for that. This was an act of God. Something else I want to touch on is the lease agreement about the fixtures versus the infrastructure of the piping. We, as tenants, as stated in our lease, we are responsible for the fixtures of the house. That is the faucets, the taps, the hoses. We did everything that was stated in our lease to prepare for cold weather protocol. We were not aware of how cold it was going to get, and our landlords had not reached out to us at all about how cold it may get. It is good practice to reach out to your tenants. If I was a property manager, that's what I would do. And I'm sure lots of others would reach out to their tenants to notify them that cold weather is coming. Make sure you do A, B, and C. That was not done for us. As to my knowledge, they did not go to the property to check on the property as we were gone. They were aware that we were leaving for Christmas break, and nothing was done to mitigate these processes. From the statements of the witnesses and Mr. Young, all the repairs
Really? Why do they have to delete them? It's just trying to get a drink of water. Okay, give me 1 second. Thank God I downloaded it. Downloaded it in a format that it's not going to let me play. All right, so I have to play and share that screen. Are you serious? It seriously didn't download? Guys, talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Give me a minute before I panic. Didn't download on this computer. Wow. Oh, whew. Today the 28th? Hot damn, got it on this computer. Okay. Give me a second, copy it over. And then we can watch the end, because, hey, we're almost there, right? Nothing like shutting it off right before the end. She was doing really good. Now I got to figure out where we were at, because they delete their streams like the second they are done. It drives me crazy. Like, what if somebody's 5 minutes behind watching it? You're not even going to give them a chance? I guess you got to speed it up or something. Okay, so I think Michaela was testifying. You don't want it on my massive monitor. So let's share screen, window, media player, share. Oh, hold on. I don't know if I hit the audio button. I'm tired. Share screen, share with audio, share. Okay, now where were we at? We had left. She was talking. Where's the audio? Oh, let's turn audio on. Further back? No, it doesn't let me go. Dad, I heard that. Don't do that. Hey. Sorry. You don't have audio? You don't have audio now? Or you didn't have audio before? You have volume now? Is it just delayed? You're like crackheads. Come on. Do you have no audio? Judge Webster wasn't talking. Okay, hold on. Their lips are moving, but no sound. Okay, here. We'll try this. I don't know how loud it's going to be, but is that screen 2? No, screen 3 here. Can you hear him now?
And Mr. Young, we do not claim responsibility for that. This was an act of God. Michaela Woodward, I am from Saskatchewan, Canada.
Okay. I can't. Okay, he's gone. We need the act of God quote.
We do not claim responsibility for that. This was an act of God.
There we go.
Something else I want to
I
touch
get there
on
eventually.
is the lease agreement about the fixtures versus the infrastructure of the piping. We, as tenants, as stated in our lease, we are responsible for the fixtures of the house. That is the faucets, the taps, the hoses. We did everything that was stated in our lease to prepare for cold weather protocol. We were not aware of how cold it was going to get, and our landlords had not reached out to us at all about how cold it may get. It is good practice to reach out to your tenants. If I was a property manager, that's what I would do. And I'm sure lots of others would reach out to their tenants to notify them that cold weather is coming. Make sure you do A, B, and C. That was not done for us. They, as to my knowledge, they did not go to the property to check on the property as we were gone. They were aware that we were leaving for Christmas break, and nothing was done to mitigate these processes. From the statements of the witnesses and Mr. Young, all the repairs that were done on the house was the infrastructure. That's all the piping underneath the house, as stated in our lease. That is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is the fixtures, not the infrastructure. And all the repairs was done underneath as infrastructure. And also, I keep hearing mentions of the crawl space and the temperature of the crawl space, that there is no venting to the crawl space. There is no way for heat to get to that crawl space. Therefore, the result of the temperatures inside the house does not correspond to the temperatures of the crawl space underneath the house. And yeah, that is all I have, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Ms. Locke.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Woodward, you've never been in the crawl space, correct?
No, I have not, Your Honor. Oh, sorry, Ms. Locke.
That's okay.
My apologies.
And you haven't lived in multiple other residences in Kansas, correct?
Not in Kansas, no.
And when you left, the power was on, correct?
It was on.
When you returned, the power was on.
Yes, it was.
And you were not the last to leave.
No.
And you were not the first to return.
No.
And you reviewed the message where Mr. Young said that the pipes had frozen, correct?
Are you referring to the group message that was shared?
Yes.
Yes, I saw it.
And at that time, you didn't state that you left the power on.
I did not state anything, no.
And you heard Miss Lentz say that she shut the air conditioner off, correct?
The only time I had heard is when you were questioning her today, yes.
And she stated she shut the air conditioner off.
To the best of her knowledge, she doesn't seem like she really knew, but yes.
And being in Canada, you understand that, being from Canada, that if the heat is shut off to a home in the winter, that can be very dangerous for the infrastructure of the home. Is that right?
It could potentially cause some freezing.
And you agree that your lease agreement states that the tenant will pay for any damages to the property caused by the tenant or his or her guests, right?
Yes.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, do you have any other evidence, Ms. Woodward?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I believe I've heard all of the testimony, received all of the evidence. At this time, I do find that the defendants did turn off the heat and cause the pipes to break, and would therefore be jointly and severally liable to the plaintiff in the principal amount of $5,700 and $50 plus interest and court costs and attorney's fees, as well as other fees. The plaintiff will be responsible for drafting a journal entry. Now, I would point out to the defendants, you have up to 14 days to file a notice of appeal to the Kansas Court of Appeal if you wish. Ms. Locke, is there anything further that I need to, from the defendant's or the plaintiff's standpoint?
Your Honor, if the defendants could just acknowledge by shaking their head that I can email a copy of the journal entry to them for their approval.
Okay, Ms. Kelly says yes. Ms. Lentz, yes. Ms. Woodward says yes. Okay.
Nothing further from the plaintiffs, Your Honor.
All right, anything further from any of the defendants at this time? If not, we are in recess. You are all excused. And I think, Belen, that concludes this docket.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That never would have. Okay, stop replying to people who say they can't hear. They're behind on the stream and they're replying to what we talked about like 10 minutes ago. That never would have flown in anything other than small claims court. They had no evidence. It's just, I honestly think if the mom hadn't, my personal opinion is that if the mom hadn't got involved in the very beginning, and soured some people's opinions, that this wouldn't have been an issue. I really think that. I think that they would have, if they would have looked like innocent young college girls, the case would have gone one way. But the fact that you have mom in there, you know, trying to control everything, I think took it in another direction. And as much as Michaela was a freaking rock star, I think that negativity overshadowed it. I really do. Yeah, I don't agree with it at all. But I also don't think that they had any knowledge of the law at all. So I don't think, oh my gosh, people, stop saying you can hear when you're 10 minutes behind in the video. Ah! Somebody said the hurricane shifted. My mom texted me, but I couldn't pull it up and see what was going on. So anyways, that was our interlude. I will try and cut that out and make it its own video for all the people that didn't see it, because I know people aren't watching 2 hours worth of me talking. We aren't done yet. We are only on 20, and there are 43. Yeah, we might have to finish this tomorrow, but we will finish Washtenaw County today. So I think we talked about Angelo Weems and him being a Sovsit jailhouse wannabe. Yeah, and then yeah, there's a video. Let's just watch the video. Okay, Raven, what are you trying to say? 10 times. Can Canuck really shut up by people's son? I don't know what to tell you, honey. I don't know what to tell you. I hope they file an appeal too, but I also hope that they get a little bit of experience, like watch some law too, you know, and just get a little bit of understanding of what goes on. And I guarantee you do a lot better. Kind of felt like Michaela might have done that because she's improved even since last time. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining I don't know. Like they have the case. They have the defense against this. They just have to present it, and you can't just walk in and say, well, you got to follow the court rules. And when you don't know the court rules, it's really hard to follow them. So this is Angela Weems. Remember, the girlfriend was here with the, what's the word? The accessory after the fact, and the lawyer was arguing that it's just 5 years, it's just an accessory after the fact. And then finally somebody said accessory after the fact to open murder, and then there was additional charges added on. And then you guys told me, hey, you missed the biggest story, and that's her boyfriend, Angela Weems. So I did a recap on him, on some of his prior cases and how he acts and what the story was with the shooting. And he came back in front of Judge Simpson just this past week.
Court calls the case, People versus Angela Weems.
Morning, Your Honor. Ashley Lonnie for the people.
Good morning, Miss Lund.
Good morning, Your Honor. Robert J. Kilwald on behalf of Mr. Weems. Mr. Weems, would you state your name for the record, please?
Weems. Thank you.
Judge, in this matter, I filed a motion for a bond. I visited Mr. Weems last night at the jail. He told me no way does he want me to represent him. I know this is a last minute, and I informed Ms. Londe this morning. I was ready to argue the bond motion, but all I can do is adjourn this matter and ask if other counsel can be appointed and let the other counsel argue the bond motion.
Well, that's fine. The only thing that's, you're going to have to file a motion to withdraw on the case. I'm not just going to order it.
I will do that, Your Honor. I didn't know that I wasn't representing him until last night about 9 o'clock. So I will, if we could adjourn this matter, I'll file a motion next couple days.
So if there's, so what we're trying to do, if it's a written, I see the motion for bond, but so the motion for bond will be set. Well, let's set it all at that. What day? The 7th.
So he
How
wants to
soon can you
represent
get your
himself.
motion in?
He doesn't want Kilowog.
Judge, I can get in by Monday.
All right, then people need an act.
Thank you.
From what I understand, he doesn't want a lawyer.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. So I'll set the probable cause conference to, since there's a bond motion attached to it, I'll set it at 3 p.m. along with the bond motion.
Yeah.
So September 7th, 2023, 3 p.m. for the bond motion and probable cause conference.
Will the court
All right.
set the motion to withdraw at the same time?
Yes, I'll be setting it depending on how it comes in, whether or not I can rule on it without a hearing, then I will, but I need the motion before I can do anything.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Court does call the case.
So he has, on the 7th, he has another hearing for all of those motions. And his girlfriend is set for a preliminary exam in front of Judge Burke on the 12th. Oh, we have to keep going till we get to the the piece of shit dad. I've seen his Otis record. I included it in my original stream about him. So this is Lenawee County, Michigan. Judge Anna Maria Anzalone, I think it's Italian, I don't know. And Judge Olsaver, and you all remember Mr. Johnson. Sorry, I threw this in here. I was going to take it back off and I forgot. Creepy Mr. Johnson, who got his health back together and paid his child support and went out in the sunshine and everything was good towards the end, but I still have nightmares about creepy Mr. Johnson, and I picture him with a white van and it really bothers me. So his final sentencing was supposed to happen on the 18th, but Mr. Johnson showed up late, and then the Assistant Attorney General lost connection to Zoom, which none of this was broadcast on YouTube. This is all from the case docket, and was unable to reconnect. So the hearing was postponed to 9/28/23. This guy has had these hearings postponed for I don't even know how long. And every time there's some minor little crazy reason, and he is not shown up for probation when he was supposed to. He's not paid the fees when he's supposed to, but then he does. So I don't know what's going to happen at his sentencing, but anybody who doesn't remember who Mr. Johnson is, there's a link in the description. Have fun with that one. I don't know if you guys remember Mr. Rocha during his first one. I think it was his deadbeat dad or down on his luck. And he said, well, I don't see the kid, so why do I have to pay for it? And the judge was pretty upset. And then she told him, go mow lawns, go pick up cans, because he doesn't have a driver's license or a car or transportation. And he had a million excuses. He showed up via Zoom at the second hearing when he was supposed to be there in person. And she told him, get off of here and walk to the courthouse. So it took him like 30, 45 minutes, and he walked to the courthouse, and she talked to him, and she wasn't quite as hard on him as I was expecting her to be, but she told him he had to have a job by the time he came back to court, which was on the 28th, which is today. I have checked multiple times. I have not seen anything on her stream for 2 weeks. So I don't know if something is going on with her and somebody else is handling her cases. I did see Olsaver was handling some friend of the court show cause child support cases, but she has had nothing. So I don't know if I'll have an update video on this tomorrow or not. So this is one that is a little bit interesting that I wasn't expecting there to be an update on, but there is. Do you guys remember the Grandma of the Year and Dirtbag Dad? If you don't, Grandma's had custody of little Jayden, who has a ton of health problems since the day he was born, and the court or whoever it was told her that she can't keep getting guardianship. She's had physical custody of him, and she can't keep getting guardianship. They said, you need to go get complete, full custody. So she filed what they told her to file, and Dad pitched a fit, man-child meltdown, the whole 9 yards during the hearing. The whole time, it's like an hour and something long, and he just goes off. He is not giving up custody of his child. However, he doesn't really see him, and he's never lived with him. So I don't know what's going on. So everybody ruled in favor of Grandma, who has an amazing relationship with Jayden, very loving, very, she cares for him very well. But then, and that was 6/13 when we watched that video, and I thought, this is the end of it. He's going to, stay with Grandma. She has custody. Everything's great. The next thing I know, there was a hearing, and she was required to submit, I'm not sure what JOD is, but the next one is uniform, I might have got the initials wrong. What is uniform custody? Oh, now I can't remember it. Anyways, to a friend of the court for approval. So then it says that she submitted him to friend of the court. Then friend of the court filed an objection to the order for Grandma to take custody of Jayden. What? How, where on earth, what? The only thing I can think is Dad is in touch with friend of the court. Friend of the court is supporting Dad and saying, like, I don't want to lose custody of my kid. But obviously there's tons of evidence that was presented that says Dad was not being an adequate father in that regard. So they should have a hearing tomorrow. I will keep an eye out for that. So then we head to Fulton County, Georgia. And some people just don't know how to stay out of Fulton County. So you guys remember David Chase? Yeah, that's the video where I was talking really slow because my MS was flaring up. And I swear to you, got no less than 150 comments telling me, critiquing my speech. It's hilarious. So then I started speeding up some of the videos where I was having trouble and I was talking slow. And then everybody complained about the videos being sped up. So I don't know where the happy medium is. So David Chase has the two cases. There was one prior to the video that I showed, and then the one from the video where he attacked the guy or pulled a gun on the guy outside the hotel. And he was charged with aggravated assault, possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of a felony. He had previously been charged with obstruction of law enforcement by use of threats and terroristic threats and criminal trespassing. And that's when he got into some kind of altercation with law enforcement when they were trying to get him out of a hotel, also in Atlanta. So Judge Manning gave him bond, a reasonable bond back in 2022. And there's been a couple discovery motions, minor stuff back and forth, nothing major since April. And then finally, there is a status conference for both cases scheduled for 9/5. So we'll finally get some update and movement on this case. I'm sure you guys know absolute chaos going on in Fulton County right now with, they've got the YSL trial, they've got, you know, all the stuff with Trump and all of that. And on top of that, they're still massively behind from the COVID influx and the jail overcrowding and everything else. So Fulton County is crazy right now. So it's kind of surprising that they're even moving this fast on it. The dumpster fire, Rubenstahl hearing, Miss Glickenstein was how you said it right. It was Gilkenstein. Mr. Rubenstahl's lawyer has withdrawn and he has hired a new lawyer, which is kind of sad because she was amazing. So they were looking for a temporary order, custody order for the kids. Right after that hearing, Judge Manning entered a 12-month family violence protective order. And then the next month, Mrs. Rubenstahl apparently, I don't know if she's doing this from her treatment facility, if the lawyer's doing it on behalf of her, or if she's out. There was no information about that, but she basically filed an order to prevent Judge Manning from hearing any future motions. It was to make sure that only the Superior Court judge in charge of the case, which was Judge Farmer, would hear the motions. So then Mr. Rubenstahl switched attorneys, and then the GAL, guardian ad litem, in March ordered a forensic custody evaluation. And then on late April, they actually had their first meeting with the GAL, which I thought that was kind of interesting considering it was December when he showed up at the hearing and was there and didn't bother to meet with them. Seeing all the drama that was going on, didn't have a meeting with them until April? Okay. So they ordered the sale of the home, but there's no report of the property being sold or even being put on the market. If I remember correctly, it was actually her parents that owned it, so I'm not really sure how that worked out. There's a 5-day trial scheduled for the divorce in February of 2024. Makes you not want to get married. So then there's still the arson charges pending for Mrs. So after being released from the facility that we talked about, she turned herself in and was immediately released on bond, like in and out, like it was nothing. No, like 365 days, no indictment. But there's been no indictment. Like there's been literally no movement in the case since December 2022. It's just sitting there, like everything else in Fulton County. So In the frat boy case, if you guys remember, not a lot of you watched that trial with us, but Mr. Frat Boy Phillips was found to have acted in self-defense against Mr. Frat Boy. No, it was Philip Thomas against Mr. Frat Boy Kendrick Cooper. So the criminal charges were dropped, and then we come back with the civil trial because Mr. Kendrick Cooper is now suing not just Dr. Thomas, who actually did the shooting, but Morehouse College, who was his employer at the time, who really has nothing to do with this, but he's trying to loosely tie them together and say that, you know, it was an event and he was acting in his official capacity. And it's like they were at a barbecue at some dude's house at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know where that's coming from, but he's trying to do it. So anyways, so Morehouse College's lawyers are demanding a jury trial, and that was back in June, and there's been no movement on that since then. So this is the one everybody wants to know about. Cute little building. So Judge Stephanie Boyd and the 187th Criminal District, the garbage father. So this was one of the worst cases I've done, I think. But Wilbert, there's an H to the end, was charged with aggravated assault of a child, which was absolutely messed up. Things he said during this hearing were so messed up, like I can't wrap my head around it. I can't process the things that he said during this hearing. It just infuriates me. So during the hearing, Judge Boyd was as blown away as most normal people are by what he did and the things he was saying. And she kept trying to give him, you know, usually during a plea hearing, you have to actually say, okay, I stole this in this way because of this. You know, we've seen it how many times? And he just kept digging himself a bigger hole, making himself look like a bigger piece of garbage. So she said she would not accept the 15 years plea deal that they had already talked about, but she would accept a 20-year plea deal. So he went and talked to his lawyer, came back a couple days later and said they were not going to accept her recommendation and that they were going to move for her to be recused. Most likely because she made a couple comments that would probably be considered, you know, over the line personal opinions. Judges are not allowed to express personal opinions. So the case was reassigned to Judge Miguel. Yeah, Judge Miguel. We're just going to stop there because I'm having a hard enough time talking as it is. So the piece of shit human got his wish, and he got his guilty plea with a sentence of 15 years, commencing on 8/24/2023, with credit of 300 days. He has to pay a balance of $425, and he has a stay away order from somebody was named. I'm assuming it's the victim. What I found interesting about this case is someone who is related to him commented on the video comments and actually said that no one in the family knew that this existed. Like nobody knew about it. They kept it quiet. They kept it hush hush because, you know, that's what happens in many of these cases. You don't talk about really bad things, right? Like if you don't talk about it, it didn't happen. And that was such a strong mentality for so many years, you know, in the 70s and early 80s, especially mental health and bad stuff. You don't talk about it, it's not there. So it frustrates me because that mentality is the reason so many assaults go unreported. Yeah, shoving it under the rug, burying your head in sand. It's really frustrating to me. And you know, if you don't talk about it and you don't do anything about it, then how many more times is it going to happen to somebody else because they didn't know? Frustrating. So anyways, he's going to serve at least 7 years of his sentence. And then when it's finished, he's going to be deported regardless, because unless the deportation laws change when you commit a felony or anything, I think I read it during during the original stream, any kind of crime in that kind of area, you're gone. So not to say you can't sneak back over, but I think we're almost done. So some of you may have saw this on Mike's channel the other day. If you did, tell me, and I don't have to play the whole thing, but we watched the soft sit where the guy just kept saying objection. Like he had no idea what to say. He just kept saying objection over and over and over. And it was so annoying and exhausting and drove me crazy. So that was I guess a pro tem or a commissioner or whatever that was hearing the case, and he didn't know what to do with them. So now it went up to Judge Sam Meyer, who has done this before, has a little experience, and he's not playing games. And he seems like he's trying to reason with him, and he actually gets through a little bit, and then the guy kind of like pulls back and is trying to remember what he's supposed to do. He seems like he forgets what he's supposed to do. But I actually have the video for this one, I think.
And on the Zoom call there, it says, it's going to read the trustee of the person, Mohammed Idris. Could you come on the Zoom call?
Can you hear me?
I can.
I'm gonna have to go through
Can you
and put
activate your
bookmarks
camera?
for each case. This stream is so freaking long.
Give me a second.
He's traveling.
Hi there. So are you, is it Mohammed Idris?
Van.
The trustee. I'm the trustee. The trustee of the person is here, and all the beneficiaries have been already named.
Okay, so I'm looking for Mohammed Idris. If you're not him, you're free to go. We'll issue a warrant for him.
I am the trustee of the person.
So, okay, I'm not sure what that means. You're gonna have to explain that to me. I mean, I know what a trustee is. When you have a trustee over as a person, that's someone who governs their affairs if they're not able to manage their own. Generally, people aren't trustees for themselves. And so that's why, you know, and if you're, I'm not sure exactly what that means. And you're gonna have to explain that to me.
What I mean,
like
by
I say,
the
if you're, I mean, I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is the trustee of the person is here, and all the beneficiaries have already been named. And it's on a trust, and that trust is private.
Okay, do you have a name?
Because you are claiming that you are the trustee, or the prosecutor is claiming to be the trustee, and the investors.
No, I'm not.
Beneficiaries.
So, okay, I'm going to stop you there for a second because I'm not claiming that.
I'm just going to leave this
No,
on
you
the
can't
screen.
finish. When you say you are claiming to be something that I'm not doing, no, I'm not going to say that because that's not true. I'm not claiming to be anything other than the judge in Thurston County District Court who's on this calendar. So I'm not the trustee of anybody.
Well, you're here to come after my personal trust, correct?
No, no. Why would you think that?
Like, no one's home. For real,
I
for real.
object being a trustor.
Okay, well, you're not one. I'm just trying to find out who you are.
real quick, I gotta tell you guys, the dogs bark all the time. They don't listen to me, especially the little one. I got this little thing just to try. It's the high pitched noise, which I really hesitated doing. I don't like doing that. But I only had to do it a couple times to get them to do it. And I press it, they come running to me, lay down in their beds, perfect, and stop barking, because they'll go crazy when the mailman comes or whatever. Unbelievable. And then once I started saying certain words to train them with it, like, where was this for the last 10 years of my life?
I can't get any clearer when I said, the trustee of the person is here.
Okay. Is the person here? You're not going to answer that.
The trustee of the person is here.
Okay.
And the beneficiaries have already been named. Is on a trust, and it's private, and my trust is private.
Okay. What's the state's position on where this case is headed? And then I can come back and speak with
Your Honor,
who I assume the trustee of the person is the person named as Muhammad Idris. And so, but let me hear from you what the state's position, these cases look like there's a fraction of failure to control a traffic device. There's a special fuel trip permit. And then there's a failure to comply charge.
Yes.
So what's the state's position on where we're going from here?
If Muhammad Idris is not present, the state would ask for a warrant.
Muhammad Idris I'm going to consider him present based on his verbiage. I know he's operating under a lot of false premises, but that's kind of on him. So,
right.
But I mean, what is the state where we're at here? If the state wants to go to trial on this case, we'll set it for trial, and then
the state would ask the court to set dates.
Okay.
Within speedy trial, the state also would like to clarify whether Muhammad Idris is intending to go pro se or if he will have counsel at trial.
So I was looking at this too. Like, he pauses and he thinks about it. So he did it in the first trial too, and I thought maybe he was just stoned out of his mind or something. But look at him. I mean, something's not right. And I'm not really sure what it is. But real quick, just to answer the question, because I don't like anybody to think that I'm not doing that. But there's certain times where they're barking when, I'm trying to do a stream or I have a really bad migraine. And it helped me train them not to bark. It's not like I do it every time and don't let them bark. They're dogs. Don't make it sound like that.
He looks like he was okay. So I'm going to speak here for just a minute, and I'm going to kind of tell you where we are with this, and
right.
And then we'll go from there. So, you said a lot of things already that just simply are not correct. And here's where you're at right now. All right. And so you've been charged. There's 3 things at issue here. There's 2 statutes that are alleged to have been violated: violation of a special fuel trip permit, violation of vehicle operator refusing to comply with an officer. And those are both, I think, simple misdemeanors, which carry with them maximum penalties of 90 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. Pleas of not guilty have been entered. And then these cases, they're both criminal cases. And what happens is they either resolve through some sort of plea or some sort of agreement, or they proceed to a jury trial. And now, if it goes to since they are criminal cases, it's headed to a jury trial, you're entitled to be represented by an attorney. Look like a previous judge had already ruled that, or found that you were are you going to represent as the trustee of the person of Muhammad Idris, going to be present to contest the criminal charges against the named Muhammad Idris? Are you going to do that yourself, or do you want to have an attorney appointed to represent? I can screen you for court-appointed counsel, or you can hire an attorney to represent yourself.
Do I have a standing to speak?
Yes.
Okay, I object to what the prosecutor has said.
Okay.
And I'm standing on, I am. Like
You're standing on what?
The trustee of the person is here.
He's trying
and
to
the
remember what he's supposed to
beneficiaries
say.
have already been named.
Okay.
It's on a trust and it's private.
Okay.
And I object to the prosecutor saying that representing myself, I object to that. I object to being the trustor. And I'm not here to give out gifts, reducing the public law or the public debt. Because I'm brought in as a trustor to give out gifts and turn around, and what the court is doing is coming after me for the commercial promise. So for that reason, I am the trustee. I'm standing on that position.
All right.
Come here, Rox. I've heard a lot of stuff that babble, but that's not even like comprehensible. I have no idea what
No
he's
one's
trying
here
to
for
say.
any gifts.
Come here, Roxy.
So I object to that. The trustee of the person is here, and all the beneficiaries or the beneficiaries already been named.
All right.
And I'm not talking about the beneficiaries, which is the investors.
I have no idea what you're talking about. When you talk about the beneficiaries, I don't have a clue as to what you're talking about. So I don't even know what that means. I'm trying to figure out, where we're going to go from here. And I have an idea, but in a minute, I'm going to take up some of these. I'm going to take some of these other cases, and then I'll come back to you. But
I'm the only witness on the case.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to respond.
No, you're not. That's not correct.
That's not.
No.
Someone should tell him there's whole channels that, they could learn from.
Give me just a second here. Mr. Newcomb, you can mute up there.
It's just like playing the lottery.
Mr. Idris, and then I'll come back to you here in just a minute. And you can go off camera, but don't leave the Zoom call just yet, because this is going to take some time. I'm going to take care of some of these other cases first. Mr. Newcomb, is your case ready? I don't hear him. And then Ms. Lazarek.
Your Honor, we'll be doing a change of plea today, but I'm just waiting for my client to log on.
All right. All right. So you can come back on the, you can come off the Zoom call there. Mr. Idris, you can come back off of mute. You can come back onto the Zoom call. So here's where we're at here. And I started talking about, and again, at this time, I don't want to hear anything about the trustee and the named or unnamed beneficiaries. My only question is, do you want to have an attorney appointed to be involved and help you with this case? I mean, that's a yes or no question.
The trustee of the person is here, and the beneficiaries have been already named. And I'm asking for the court to dismiss this case because I put myself in the position of a trustee.
Okay. The request to dismiss the case will be denied. I'm telling you that. And I'm going to ask my question again. Do you want an attorney appointed to represent you, or are you going to go it alone?
How can somebody represent me when I'm the trustee?
Okay.
And the beneficiaries have already been named? You can't even continue.
Why do you think that?
Yeah, I'm confused too, Judge. I don't know.
What does it have to do with thinking?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I mean, you're just telling me that, well, I've named the trustee and the beneficiaries are named who haven't been named to me, so I don't know who they are and they're really not interested. I mean, if life were that easy, anybody could do that in any criminal charge. Anybody get charged with anything? Well, I'll just name myself the trustee of the person and name some beneficiaries, then you're off the hook. You know, things just don't work that way.
How come they don't
And
do
so
it?
in terms of, you know, at some
They don't
point,
do it.
on the, there was a scene where you were contacted by a law enforcement officer, or maybe even more than one. They identified some charges or some statutes you were not complying with, including, you know, the special field trip permit, and you refused to comply with the officers and things of that sort. So they refer that to the prosecutor's office. They're charging a crime. And I've told you what those two crimes are. And now, again, these cases either resolve, and if you've been on the Zoom call, which I think you have for a while, you've seen some of these cases resolve, or they go for a jury trial. And again, you've seen all these other attorneys who represent these folks. I mean, if they could make these cases go away simply by naming someone as a trustee or naming the charged person as a trustee, I mean, shoot, they'd all do it. And then nobody could ever be prosecuted for anything. So that's why I'm wondering why you think that. And now I'm losing my voice, but it'll come back, I promise. So if you're going to keep just
go ahead.
I mean, if you're just going to keep repeating that to me, then not much of a choice other than we'll just set this to a jury trial, and then you can repeat that to the jury and see how that turns out. But I don't really have much of a choice here right now.
I object. Isn't the prosecutor supposed to be speaking and ruling between me and the prosecutor?
Say that again. I didn't understand that.
Like, repeat yourself. Because like I can't remember what I said.
Would you please repeat that?
How come the prosecutor is not saying anything? Why is the prosecutor silent?
Well, because part of my job is trying to identify who's here. And then the prosecutor did say that they want to figure out whether you're either representing yourself or you want an attorney. And so that started the conversation between me and you as to whether or not you want an attorney or not. And I frankly, I still haven't gotten an answer. When I ask you that question, you just go back to restating yourself as the trustee of the person of Mohammed Idris, and then the beneficiaries have been named. So I want to get through that hurdle. And then, I have some responsibility to do some things here before we really hear from the prosecutor. Prosecutor will, I suppose, if this case goes to jury trial, they'll do that. They can negotiate with you some sort of resolution to the problem if you wish to do that. I can set this over for a period of time to give you an opportunity to do that. But and again, you still haven't even admitted that you're the person who was pulled over by the police officers on that day. So, I mean, we kind of have to get through some of these preliminary hurdles before we can get to that.
But my handbook said it'd be the prosecutor.
The trustee of the person is here, and the beneficiaries have already been named.
You have said.
The beneficiaries have already been named.
Like, they're wasting so much time and resources.
Do you understand that the prosecutor is an attorney who's passed the bar, practiced law in the state of Washington, appears here fairly regularly, and knows the rules of evidence and criminal procedure, and quite familiar with them, given that that's what their job is?
I object to being the trustor.
Okay. Do you understand what a prosecutor's job is?
Maybe he just objects when he doesn't understand the question.
I object to being the trustor.
All right, you can go ahead and mute back up. You can stop your camera, and then we'll come back here in a minute. All right, Mr. Idris, you can come back on the Zoom call, please. Activate your camera. So I'm just going to talk for a few minutes, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do here, going from here. It looks to me like your first appearance on these cases was on July 17th, and speedy trial runs through right now, October 15th, 2023. So you are charged, as it looks like you were in front of a pro tem back on July 17th. You're charged, right there, with 2 crimes, and there's 1 infraction. Pleas of not guilty will be entered. Anytime anyone's ever charged with a crime, they have a number of rights. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, which I've talked about. You also have the right to go to trial and call witnesses and so forth. And so just let me finish, please. Don't interrupt me. I know what you're about to say, but I'm going to talk for a while here. So just please don't interrupt me. At the end of it, then you can say what you're going to say. All right.
My apologies.
So this case has started. This case is headed towards trial, apparently. And if my voice holds out, the trial is going to take place someday before October 15th. You have the right to an attorney. As I said, you also have the right to represent yourself. If you choose to represent yourself, I just want to advise you that you would be at a serious disadvantage. As a prosecutor, as I tried to explain earlier, is a trained attorney, been through law school, been practicing law for a while, well-trained, well-versed in the rules of evidence, well-trained, well-versed in the rules of criminal procedure, been through jury trials before, they know how to conduct them. And so if you were to represent yourself, you would be at a huge disadvantage. It would be to your great advantage to have an attorney appointed, or you can hire an attorney to represent you. But as I said before, you do have the right to represent yourself. And normally you go through some sort of conversation with folks. I've been doing this job for a number of years now. I've had several people represent themselves. Normally there's a conversation I've had with people about asking them that they're aware that if they represent themselves, they'd be at a disadvantage. I tried to engage in that discussion with you. You just kind of reverted back to repeating that you're the trustee of the person and the beneficiaries and the name, so forth. But rather than go through the question and answer portion, I'm just going to tell you that's where we're at. So we're going to set this case. We're going to do 2 things here today. We're going to set the case for trial. You're going to get notice in the mail of that. You're also going to I'm going to set a status hearing or a pretrial hearing in about 3 weeks. And then somebody else, maybe it'll be me, will probably try and go through all this again. But I'm going to tell you some things that, you said you object to this and you object to that, and you're free to object to anything you want. But I have the ability to either overrule the objection, which means, turn down your objection, or sustain your objection. And I'm having trouble actually understanding what your objections are. And so, and again, I'm going to lay out some of what's going to happen at trial if it goes that far. In a trial, they have a group of citizens come in, both the attorney and defense attorney or the person represent themselves, and the prosecutor has an opportunity to question them, talk about the issues that might come up in the case. And then they can eliminate who they don't want on the jury. And then 6, you will end up on a jury, and then the state will present their case. You or an attorney, or you on your own behalf, or you as the trustee of the person, can present your case or explain to the jury why you think you should be found not guilty of what you're charged with. And so in the grand scheme of things, frankly, the charges that you're charged with are not far from the most serious that we see around here. They're not. But they are crimes, and they are in their own way serious. And so I don't know whether anything I've said has made any impression on you at all. But that's what's going to happen here today. And if you wished in that, so this case is headed for trial. And like I say, we'll do sometime before October 15th, but we're going to do a intervening, and I'll tell you when that is. Why don't you set just a status pretrial for like about 3 weeks. And you can think about what's going on here. You can think if you want to take some alternative place. If you want to just come to court and keep repeating the same thing to me when you get in front of a jury, you keep repeating that same thing to somebody else, I suppose there's no way I can stop you of doing that, but I'm just trying to enlighten you on what's going to happen. And, some of, your objections you talk about, see, that's the advantage the attorneys have. The attorneys know when objections are well-founded and when they're not. And I kind of get the sense from you that you really don't have a complete or accurate idea of what this is all about and what's.
But like, since I'm like delirious from sitting here with these lights like shining in my eyes for 3 hours, I will admit that I did watch his really messed up alien astronaut show. It was weird. What? I can't remember what it's called. Now someone's got to tell me what it's called. Yeah. Dang. I won't admit that to most people.
What's happening. And so I tried to spend some time explaining that to you as best I could. And I guess I told you I'd let you speak, or hinted that I would let you speak. I'll go ahead and tell you. Do you have any response or any thoughts on this? Or
no, I have to click on them.
You understand this is going to trial, or go ahead. I've said what I'm going to say. I'll turn things over to you. Any response to any of that?
Again, I object. I'm standing at what I said.
Okay. And what specifically do you object to? Just so I can create a record, so I'll make a ruling on your objection. What are you objecting to?
It was called the Orville. It was horrible. The Orville. He was like some outer space monsters. It was weird.
I'm objecting to everything you're saying. It's a hearsay. It's an assumption, a presumption. It's a tacit agreement. It has nothing to do with the facts. That's why I'm the trustee. It has it has everything to do with the trust law. The trustee of the person is here, and the beneficiaries have already been named. That's why I have a trust, and my trust is private, and I don't see your trust. And in the trust that you have,
literally,
the trust that the prosecutor has named you as the trustee. That's why you keep asking the prosecutor what they want to do, because they named you the trustee. And you guys brought me into court to give out gifts.
To bear gifts.
And I'm not here to give out any gifts.
Right.
I'm here to object to giving out any gifts. That's supposed to reduce the public debt. Am I wrong?
Yes. Yes, you are.
Yes.
And that's frankly, that's kind of the sad thing, because I'm really not sure completely of what you're saying, but a lot of the things you just said are quite simply not true. And I asked the prosecutor where they wanted to go in the case, because they file the cases, they choose to go forward. Sometimes, as you've seen today, if you've been paying attention, the prosecutor said, "No, Your Honor, we're going to dismiss this thing." And so I dismiss it. So I asked the prosecutor, they filed the case. What do you want to do with this case? They said they want to go forward, which brought about this conversation that we've been having. And that's just one example of one of the things you're wrong about in terms of this whole trustee thing. I don't know what that means to you, but I have an idea of what a trustee and is and things of that sort. And I don't have a trust. I'm not anybody's trustor or trustee. In this court, neither is the prosecutor. And so when you say, am I wrong? The short answer to that is yeah. And unfortunately, and I'm taking some time to try and explain it to you, but I just don't feel like I'm breaking through. But to answer your question, am I wrong? Yes, you're wrong about a number of things, which is really unfortunate that I can't explain that to you or make that clear to you.
What's your evidence? Evidence is clarity.
I'm sorry?
What's your evidence that I'm wrong?
Well, I mean, you know, other than me just telling you that I'm not a trustee, I can't prove something doesn't exist. I mean, there is no trust. There's nothing else, and I have no documents that saying there's not one, and I don't have any document. There is no document saying that there is one. And so again, that's on that single issue. That's.
So you're not coming after my personal trust?
No.
So personal
and again,
trust
I'm not
doesn't
sure.
exist?
Well, let me rephrase. I'm not sure what that means. Again, you're charged with a crime. That crime needs to be resolved or either through trial or resolution of some kind. And so in terms of coming after your personal trust, and by the way, you know, I'm not the one who filed the charges. That was done by the prosecutor and all of that. And so what they're trying to do, I think, and I don't know this for sure, and I'm just trying to do this by way of explanation, not because I'm on anyone's side. You know, it's their responsibility. They're bringing the charge. It's their responsibility to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. It's your or the defense attorney's role to say, explain why the charge should never have been brought, or that there reasonable doubt exists as the charge was ever committed. That's what this is about. This whole trust thing, I think you're just going down a way that's really doesn't have any relevance to what's happening here. And I've tried to explain that to you, and I'm more than willing to continue to. We can't go at it all afternoon, but I'm trying to make this as clear as I can to you. But and again, it's unfortunate. It's a failing on my part that I'm not able to break through to you.
Your Honor, if I might for a moment.
In a minute. So I guess we'll set it for status hearing. We'll set trial dates, and then we'll just go from there.
Your Honor, based on this conversation, the state has concerns about the defendant's competency.
Yeah, we're not going to go down that route right now.
But I legit have
And
concerns.
so
Not
you can raise that, but
because
I'm not
it's all
denying
sick,
that without prejudice. But at this time, we're not. For one thing, as you well know, given the nature of the charges and given the schedule of this case, will drag everything on we'll be here for the next couple of years. And at this point, I'm not prepared to do that. So you can bring this up again if you wish. But for right now, we're not going to go there. And do you understand what the state just said to me and what I turned them down for?
No.
Again, that's a yes or no question. The representative from the state, the prosecutor, she just said something to me. And I said, no, we're not doing that now. She made a request of me. And so do you know what that request was?
I am the trustee, and the beneficiaries have been already named. So,
all right. Did he been sent discovery?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, I understand why. I understand why. All right, so what's 3 weeks? What's 3 weeks from today? When's the trial date? We're gonna reset this to September 13th. Put it at the end of the calendar.
Okay.
What time?
2:30.
At 2:30. That'll be your next court date. You're free to go.
So I was really surprised because, like, legitimately, yes, soft sets are difficult. They spout a bunch of garbage. There's all those issues, but he really like could not comprehend when he asked him, "Can you repeat that to me?" Like he couldn't do it. Yeah, sorry about that. The algorithms, bitch. Wait till you get on its bad side. Let me tell you. Okay, so the next hearing is 9/13. Who knows how that'll go? Okay, so we'll run through Kansas real quick, and then I think we're done. You guys remember the thief employee? His employers were dealing with a civil lawsuit in another county or something along those lines, and the fabulous Mr. Carter decided to go and steal all their stuff, and then he said, I was holding it for him, and then they never came and got it. What? Are you talking about her main podcast where she talks about each, like, analyzes each person, or is there another one? I like that. So anyways, so there was a motion to change trial dates. I actually missed it. I'm having issues getting the streams from Kansas because all of a sudden they're streaming like 3 and 4 at a time on the same channel, which is really weird. So the jury trial is scheduled for 10/3, which should be pretty interesting because there was some weird stuff in that pre-trial, and you know, he's going pro se, so that'll be fun. The speeding drug runner, alleged, still has the charge of distribution of marijuana. He had like 600 and something grams, I think it was, or I don't know, one of those weights that I can't remember. He was speeding 90 and a 75, and he paid his speeding ticket. There's a preliminary exam scheduled for September. He did retain an attorney, and he did post a $20,000 bail. Surprising, because they talked about how destitute he was. So as I was looking this up, you know, trying to figure stuff out. Yeah, killer psyche. That was, she analyzes like each killer and digs into why they did what they did. Really good one. I found this, and I don't really know what it is. So, you know, I just threw it in here. And he has a very unusual name. Remember, the judge couldn't pronounce it for anything. And it looks like there's a case from 2016, which is a tax case against him, and then a 2005 traffic infraction where he was speeding like 88, 75, which I thought was ironic. And in the Department of Revenue case, there was a warrant issued in 2016, and it says that the judge retired in 2020. It was transferred to another judge, but it's unknown, you know, nothing's happened. It's just an open warrant, and that's it. So I have no idea if this is the same person or not, but, you know, he said he was doing a favor for a friend and all that. But if he has prior infractions, then that would indicate maybe, I don't know. I threw this one in here because I really wanted to see this guy come up again. I thought this original stream was hilarious. I also loved the fact that his name was Celtic Storm. And he just couldn't understand the system and how it was going on. But he waited until right before the next hearing, which was supposed to be last week. And then he filed for pretrial diversion. So apparently he resolved his grave misunderstanding. Judge Webster was not having it with him. And just a reminder, there's links in the description for all of these, and they're actually in the order that we're going through them right now. Broken Pipe Saga, got to put a link in there for that because we dealt with that today. And then, I don't know if you guys remember the live I did with J. Robine Law on the Smith County, Texas county clerk who was arrested because she interfered with the arrest of her soft-sit son, Derek Phillips, and his soft-sit friend, Cody Storm Boss, who then turned around and sued the city. So the criminal cases against Karen and Derek are gone. Poof, gone. Can't find them anywhere. They were there before. I've seen them. Like, I've read them. Gone. Cody's cases are still there. He has the failure to identify and the defective taillight, which is what he was pulled over for, and then what that whole debacle turned into. Oh my gosh, what it just like should have been nothing turned into this huge show. So he has a jury trial for a taillight on 9/13. So that should be interesting. Although I've never seen a stream from Smith County, Texas. I'm not expecting to get any kind of video from it, unfortunately. There will, we can still look and see. So there's also the 2 civil cases, which have not been dropped. So Karen Phillips is suing the city. It looks like she has an attorney now. And there's a show cause hearing on 8/22. There was a show cause hearing that I have the documents from that I haven't had a chance to go through yet because it's so many pages. And then in Derek and Cody's civil filing, the judge issued their last order in June. There's been a bunch of motions back and forth between them and the prosecution, but the judge has not ruled on any of them. It's motions to dismiss, motions for monetary damages, just random back and forth. Nothing super legal or in-depth. So they should be scheduling a hearing before long for the judge to rule on those motions. Karen still has her job, she's still working, no issues. Oh, and then the other one, I forgot to put that up there. So Lance, excuse me. Shh. Who said they'd like hearings on the park? Ziggy. No. They're doing laps around my green screen with the cat, chasing him. So Lance is the other son who went to the city council meeting where dad is on the council, and the first meeting he, said a bunch of stuff and got in trouble, got kicked out, went to the second meeting and he threw himself on the ground and the cops had to actually remove him from the meeting. It was mine? No. He's a Morkie. A dumb one. Sweet one. Anyways, I threw this one in here because we're working on some media stuff for this, and it's really old when I did it. But if you like anything true crime or anything just weird mysteries, I put this together months ago. And it's the story of Paul Raymond Herod, who just walked away one day after Thanksgiving dinner and has not been seen or heard from since. And we've made a couple breakthroughs in the case. We've figured out the link to, was it Hoven, South Dakota, and a couple other things. So if you guys remember this case, you've looked at it, take a look at the website, whoispaulraymondherod.com, because there's a blog on there where we posted some updates, some handwriting samples, some additional pictures. Just bizarre case. How can someone just disappear and nobody's ever, you don't know who he was, you don't know where he went. Just, I don't know. Weird case. I like weird stuff sometimes. All right. So 3.5 hours, that might be a record for me. I was definitely not planning on doing that, but hey, what can you do? Okay, so everybody, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Where is he? I can show you. Here, he's right here. He's got his Hawaiian hoodie on. Yeah, I'm a little yapper. I'm a yapper. I yap a lot with my gray beard. You're dirty. Tomorrow's bath day. Okay, so that should have updated everything that's outstanding. I now have templates so we can easily update them going forward. It won't be so much work. And hopefully find a way to throw videos in there. And I appreciate all of you sticking around with me all this time. And anyone who is in the path of the storm, I hope you all stay safe. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Stay safe, stay dry, stay in one piece. And hopefully we can start doing this more often once I get everything, you know. I want to let you comb his beard. I want to let you bathe him and wash him and cut his nails and do all those other things that I don't like doing. Sorry. Off topic. Thank you. It was. It's like hanging out with your friends. Except you guys don't get to talk. I get to talk, which is a little awkward. And that. Hey, I do taxes. I know how to do taxes. I can help you with that. What else do you need help with? Yeah, there's a hurricane about to hit me. They're saying it might be a Cat 3, but it looks like it shifted a little bit. So it might be doing what was that one that everybody was freaking out about last year? And then it ended up hitting Louisiana. I don't know. Just keep an eye on it. Stay safe. And we will try and do some more lives soon. Everything's just been crazy the past couple weeks, so it's starting to calm down. All right, I love you guys. You're amazing. Take care.